And welcome to the March 12th, 2018 Board of Selectmen meeting. Before we get going, if we could all rise for the invocation and pledge of allegiance.
Lord God, as we enter into this meeting, we would ask that you would be with us, and we would ask that you would give us, especially in this budget season, that you would give us the wisdom and discernment to properly allocate funds and discuss warrant articles as it affects the entire town. We're also thankful for the many blessings that you've provided for this community, especially after the last couple of weeks with our first responders, highway department, electric light company, water company. We're so thankful for them and their level of professionalism. And as always, Lord, we thank you for all you do, and we each pray to you in the way we were taught. Amen.
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 Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, so first and foremost, I was speaking to the Lord. Doug took my thunder a little bit. I want to start the meeting by sending out a congratulations to everybody in town who worked together and really helped the town get back online. I thought extremely quickly. We were looking at possibly 72 hours. We got some notification of that, and 72 hours quickly became probably less than 24. I would think. For some in town, some others it took a little over 24 hours. But once again, Georgetown, the light department, Georgetown Police, our fire department, DPW, who else?
Water department, electric department, highway department, fire and police.
Yeah.
And all.
And then if I'm missing anybody, to you as well, I think we really came together as a community, and we did a great job getting people back to where they felt comfortable and where we need to be. So heartfelt congratulations to everybody who did a wonderful job once again. But don't stray too far. We might need you again after tomorrow. So all right. So I want to welcome to everybody in the crowd tonight and everybody watching at home. I want to start off with Joe Gary, who's here from Woodard and Curran. If you could come up, sir. Just over here is fine.
Yeah,
Yeah, if you can take a seat.
Well, he might have to.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to operate some things over there too. But
Oh, I thought it was going to be up here
No,
as well.
that's the only one that works right now.
Okay, so if you could, Joe, introduce yourself.
yeah,
and,
my name
what
is
you do.
Joe Gary. I work for a company called Woodard and Curran. We're an engineering and operations firm located, headquartered in Portland, Maine. Been around for over 30 years. We have a company of about 1,000 people, and our operations team, besides engineering, we also have an operations team that operates water systems and wastewater systems throughout the country. Mike had contacted me about a month or two ago, asked me to come in and just talk about what contract operations is. So that's what I'm here to do tonight, is just an introduction to the selectmen as to exactly what this is all about.
So thank you for coming in, Joe. We really appreciate it. We kind of need this right now. So
Thank
you
you
for coming in.
So what contract operations is if a town, a municipality, a company feels that they don't have the expertise or the manpower to operate their water system or their wastewater system, they can call on different private firms to come in and do that. In the state of Massachusetts, what it requires to do is the town has to submit an RFP, which is a request for proposals, so that it's bid out fairly. Other companies besides my company gets a chance to put a bid on it. If they're interested in the job, the town can withdraw that proposal at any time for any reason. If they find that the terms aren't what they thought they would be, if they don't think it's going to be a good match with the community, they do that. So we operate, we've been operating the water plant in Manchester by the Sea, for instance, for the last 18 years. think Dave knew us, I'm sorry, Mike knew us from Littleton, New Hampshire. We've operated the Clay Water Treatment Plant in Lawrence, Massachusetts for over 10 years now. We operate the water plant in Ashland, Massachusetts. We operate the water plant in Cohasset, Massachusetts, the entire water system in Cohasset, as a matter of fact. And then several wastewater facilities such as Concord and Acton and a few others throughout New England. So I'm just going to show you a little bit of what we have to offer. I'll try to go through this quickly so that I don't take up more time than need be. So what we do to achieve our objectives is we build a partnership on trust and transparency with the town. We protect your assets like we own them. We optimize operations, and we support the project team with local support and national resources. So for instance, I may be a vice president in the company, but I am also a grade 4 water treatment operator. That's how I started. That's how most of the guys in the business started. We have an office of engineers right in Andover, Massachusetts, another office in Dedham, Providence, Rhode Island, throughout the country. We take care of your employees and your systems with a seamless transition. This was established by Frank Woodard and Al Curran, this company, over 30 years ago. And our mission statement to develop a perpetuate a safe, enjoyable, gratifying, and fulfilling place to work with the important objectives of growth, freedom, challenge. Deliver to our clients in the community an expanding range of high-quality consulting, engineering, and operation services, and in all endeavors of the company to act in a character of good faith and fairness at all times, and hold the protection of the environment in a regard superior to that of all other interests. So that's what we do. We try to foster a sense of teamwork with the communities that we do work for. Safety is our #1 priority. We have a really good safety record. We have a 1,000-person operations, engineering, and consulting firm. It's privately owned by 30% of the employees. And we have expertise in operations, engineering, design, instrumentation and controls, water resource management, environmental permitting, permitting and remediation. Those are the states in orange, are the states where we have contract operated facilities, and the circles are where we have offices. We run over 50 water treatment plants throughout the country. You have a commitment from our senior leadership to have trust and transparency. A lot of people, boards of selectmen, they're nervous about having somebody run their water system or the wastewater system. But it's my personal feeling that if a town makes that decision, they have an enormous amount of control over what goes on, because I'm held responsible. You know, one person that you can call that the buck stops with as far as issues, problems, etc. Sometimes it's hard to get around in a municipal environment. And sometimes it's easier to do when you have somebody work for you. So we protect your assets. We start with an asset inventory. We conduct an assessment. We implement a computerized maintenance and repair program. This is an example of some of the stuff we do. Here's all these electronics going into a PLC of some sort for control. Looks like a bunch of spaghetti put together. Afterwards, everything's nice and neat. We try to do that to all of the aspects of running a water system or wastewater system. So we have maintenance and repair reporting. Every month, all of our clients gets one of these reports. What broke? How was it fixed? How long did it take to get fixed? How much did it cost? You can look at every single work order that we do. All of the employees are assigned tablets where they take them out into the field with them, take pictures of the equipment. I think it really is a transparent way, and I think that the community really knows what's going on with kind of these modern systems being brought in. It's another report that you'll see. This is just showing you, this could be data from a wastewater plant or a water treatment plant that we send out to our clients every month, showing them how good we're performing or how badly we're performing. We put all of the assets on a GIS system. Here's an example of a report about a fire hydrant. What is it? How's the condition of the paint? How's the bonnet? How's the barrel midsection? How many minutes did you flush it? How was the color after you finished flushing it? Every one of these things is reported electronically. It all starts with safety, condition assessment. We assess the capabilities of the current team. We determine potential bottlenecks in the operations or design. We work with officials to determine budget priorities and the approach desired. We challenge the established norms. We eliminate complacency. We try to develop a long-range optimization plan that'll bring the community back into feeling good about it if there are problems. So we have 50 facilities nationwide that we run, 15 water treatment facilities with over 125 million gallons a day of water we treat, 31 wastewater facilities with 430 million gallons a day of wastewater. We have design, build, construction services. We have a 40-person instrumentation and controls team that works on things like SCADA, automation, so forth. Of those facilities, 31 wastewater, 4 of them are water reuse, which is using cleaned wastewater in other parts of the country, mainly Florida and California, for irrigation. 11 water treatment systems, 4 groundwater treatment systems. We also have a couple facilities in the Midwest where we do the complete public works for the town. Everything from plowing to cemetery, water and sewer, highway, the whole thing. And we also do some ultra-high purity water for industrial use, small town systems to treat, from small towns to cities as large as Orlando, Kansas City, Houston, Phoenix, Pittsburgh, well-fill the distribution system maintenance. Then we do small package systems all the way up to big discharge facilities.
Do you want me to move down, David?
No, I can.
Okay.
So we do our due diligence with the people, the process, the pricing, manager interviews and selection. We get the town involved in all of that, contract negotiations, onboarding of employees. We try to make it a seamless transition if that's the case. We do a health and safety audit, equipment inventory audit, technology integration, vendor establishment, and then we come up with what kind of reporting metrics would be needed for a community. We also get involved with the communities that we work in through different community activities, charitable organizations, and so forth. So, like I said, a lot of towns consider this. Some small towns, some big towns. We got into the city of Lawrence because they had serious issues running that facility. It was a brand new place. They couldn't keep it in compliance. We were actually brought in by the State Department of Environmental Protection to train those operators and try to bring it back on board for compliance. Those are most of the situations that we run into. A lot of people, it's either a system that's having problems that they want to get solved, or it's a system that has some kind of new technology that the community feels that, maybe we should bring in somebody more experienced before we put this thing online. But like I said, as a background, the RFP process is a bunch of cities and towns all throughout New England that farm out these kind of services to companies like mine. Plenty of other companies besides my company that do this work. And it's just something, if you feel that that's the way to go, that you should consider. I don't know if anybody has any kind of questions that they want to answer, but want an answer from.
Well, first of all, thank you for the information.
You're welcome.
Very informative. I'm going to open it up to the board, for any questions from Mr. Geary.
If I could ask one.
Sure.
In terms of the quality of the water, have you
What type of experience have you had with other towns that have had water quality issues?
We've had a lot of experience with rusty water, especially communities that we run out in the Midwest. Most of the issues that we brought in have to do with water quality. People get tired of it. They want to see better results from their treatment processes. They want to see those optimized. They want to have the resources available to try to fix problems. So if it's not, let's say I go into a facility and I can't figure out what's going on, or the guys I'm working with, we can't figure it out. The engineers who design these places for us are just a phone call away. We work together as a team, and I think that that's one of the strong points of working with my company, is that it's not just an operator who's looking at the situation, but we collect data, water quality data, bring it back to the engineering folks to get their input on it before we try different changes.
Mhm.
So we do have quite a bit of experience working with problem water.
So if we contracted with you, it wouldn't just be merely you're within the state guidelines, you would go above and beyond that?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, customer complaint, I don't know of any issues in town. I haven't really talked to Mike at all about what's going on, but yeah, we get involved, we track customer complaints, we investigate customer complaints. Like in Manchester by the Sea, for instance, there's a couple sections of town where occasionally we get some red water calls. We're constantly trying to figure out what that is and trying to find solutions to it.
Sure.
We came upon a solution a few years ago there that helped with maybe 90–95% of those calls, but still the straggler shows up every now and then. We respond to the person's house, we take a water sample, we test it, we send it out to get tested if necessary. We report back to the DPW director and the homeowner himself, because nobody wants the homeowner to be mad. That's the way I look at it. I mean, we're under contract through the town. That's our job, is to take care of issues like that.
Okay. And then in terms of communicating to the residents in town,
Mm-hmm.
do you guys have, I heard you talk about reporting, is all the data that you collect, is this just internally?
No,
Or
we
do
present.
you have like a suite of products that you can?
Oh yeah, we have a suite of products that we would make available to whoever, how you want that information sent out there. Probably to the Board of Selectmen, or to the town manager, or to, whoever you think should look at that information will get copied on it.
Okay.
We have a monthly operating report that goes out every single month. Everything that happened in that month, water levels, complaints, repair and maintenance, all of it gets on that report for a month. And we come in and we sit down with them. For instance, like in the town of Cohasset, they have a Board of Water Commissioners that I attend their meeting every month. And I prepare the monthly operating report, give that to them, we go over it together.
Gotcha.
So not getting too far into the weeds, so we keep our own employees, current employees? You would just come in and manage the entire plant?
No, what
How
we
does
would
this
do
work?
is we would transfer those employees over to become employees of Woodard and Curran.
Okay.
So the way it works is we give them a very, very comparable benefits package to what they're getting now from the town. We keep their salaries the same and so forth. And, of course, I'm not going to say we don't look for issues. We always look for issues if we think somebody's not going to be somebody that we want to keep or bring on board, but that happens very rarely. We always try to work with the existing employees.
So you take over complete day-to-day ops of the plant?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, the water system. We'll hire a manager who'll come in here, and he'll be in charge. We onboard any town employees, they become Woodard and Curran employees. I've been working for the company for 17 years now. I worked in the private sector when I started my career for a contract operations team, company, a different one. And then I worked for 6 years for the town of Salem, New Hampshire as utilities manager. So I've seen both sides of the story, both sides of the coin, the private, the public, and what works, what doesn't work.
And have you met with the commissioners, the water commissioner?
I have not. No.
Okay. So Mike, from a process perspective, why haven't we involved them in this particular presentation?
This was meant to be just an educational,
Okay.
to introduce this board to contract ops.
Okay.
That's it. I mean, the water commissioners did bid out a contract management RFP, and they have selected, and I do believe Woodard and Kern was invited to.
We were, yep.
Did you?
We were
submit?
selected, no.
I know you weren't selected, but.
But we did
you
submit,
did
yes.
submit.
They said it was a very close vote after a very, very long discussion, yeah.
Yeah.
But they did select one of our competitors, yeah.
But the contract they put out was a contract management.
Right.
All they're bringing in is a day-to-day manager.
Right, one person,
Yeah,
not the whole company taking over,
that's right.
basically privatizing it
Right.
in a way.
They're not privatized.
Right, that's what I mean, right.
Yeah.
Exactly, okay. All right. That makes sense in the short term.
Yeah, and that's why they did it, because they, they're still looking at combining with the electric department,
Right.
and they don't know if they want, what they want to do. They needed somebody to come in and manage it, because
Yeah, they didn't have any
the
guy.
manager left.
Right, understand.
So,
And by the way, that's, I have to stress, I mean, I think at least in my time, on this board, I think we've gone through 3, maybe, people, as manager, and we don't have anybody that's sticking. We really need someone to take hold of this. I remember, Steve and I having a conversation with, with one of them, and, we asked for a couple of, pretty standard, things that, we never received, nor did we ever get any feedback on that. And I just feel like, we need some stability, within that group, because not only do we have, what I find to be no progress being made, with the current, issues in that group, but we have no foreseeable solution, for that happening either. And I think Steve and I were just asking for that, when we spoke to him. So, I think we really need to be, and spearhead this effort into really adding stability within that group, because I certainly hear it from the townspeople that they need someone to own it, and make things better. I know there was 1 or 2 nights, maybe it was late fall, even early winter, that some folks were really up in arms, because they even showed some pictures of, it was like brown water. It was pretty gross. So in things like that, all right, it happens, as Joe said, but they weren't getting any feedback, on their phone calls.
Right.
I know one of them that I spoke to personally said, yeah, they got back to me 2 days, but meanwhile they have a baby, at home that they're trying to bathe, right? So that doesn't go over well with our citizens. So, we really need some good management, and again, some stability, within that group. So, other questions, Gary, go ahead.
Well, okay. I feel like I've got the cart before the horse here. From what I'm hearing. Was the water board invited to tonight's meeting?
no.
No, this is
Okay.
purely
It's
information.
just for this board's education of contract operations.
And this is for like the whole town or just for the water?
Water.
So I guess my next question would be, is this board looking to go the route of some other towns and take over the water department? I don't know if that's the proper terms, but it sounds like from what you've said, I mean, that we need to come to a resolution.
Yeah, it's an
So
option.
So can I ask, who invited him here? Was it you, Mr. Chair, Mike? Did someone ask Mike to get him in here?
There was a
I'm
discussion.
looking for a process of why we're where we are right here.
Sure, the process is we saw a real need, for it after
Again.
some people,
We,
myself, and some other members of the board had some conversations with folks outside, okay, that really had an issue with the water department. Me, Joe Bonavita, had a conversation with Mike Farrell. We had a conversation about the fact that we need some stability, and Mike had a suggestion to bring Joe in for an information session. That's it.
but we've, as a board, haven't had a joint meeting with the water department or anything.
Yeah. I mean, I think it goes both ways here, right? And I think that that's why we're just having these information sessions, right? The water department and the electric department are talking about a potential merger, which
Agreed.
has to come before us, right? And it's not their final decision, right, to do. It has to come before us.
Agreed.
So we're not involved in the discussions right now, but that doesn't mean that we won't be. It's preliminary, right? Here is the same thing. All we're doing is taking a look at other options, because ultimately the decision is going to lie with us. Absolutely, I agree. If we get down the road and we feel strongly about this as a board, we feel strongly about this, we can certainly have the water department, and I expect that we have the water department in.
I would have,
I've spoken to Stephen King. He's he's on the commission, and he's open to exploring any options that we may have.
Okay.
So I think he's open to suggestions. He wants to improve things as well. So I don't see any harm with us exploring this option. Are we going to decide, on our own? Absolutely not. We're going to have the water department come in, and we're going to talk about this, right?
it's just, as
But
I
it's just
said,
preliminary at this
to me,
point.
it's the cart before the horse. We might have at least done some talk. I mean, I know you have done some, but I mean, they might have at least an invitation, I would suspect. At some point tonight, I wanted to talk about our procedures. By our procedures, an invitation should have gone out to that board to be here.
Well, it's informational,
I mean-
Gary. I mean, it's the same. We think about it as the invite of a few months ago, right, about the Seabrook plant. I think the majority of the board had no clue that this guy was coming in, right? But there's no issue with it. It's an informational session, and that's what we're having tonight.
The man had filled out he wasn't brought in by.
All right. No. Let's no. We're not getting down
I'm
this
not-
road.
Yeah.
All right.
Bad example.
But
Example.
with that, Gary, it's only an information session.
I've
We're not
asked-
doing anything more but
I've asked
hearing
my questions.
about
I'm done. Thank you,
this.
Mr. Chair.
Okay, Doug.
I'm all for being able to learn about the different ways that water department can be handled. I think that, and I applaud you and Steve for taking the initiative. What I would have liked to see is to have this presented before the board as a whole, and then have the board's blessing to go ahead and go.
To
do it.
invite
That's
someone for an
okay.
information session?
Yes, yes, because it was something that was being thought of by two members of the board, and not made known to all five. It's not a criticism, it is criticism, but it's just a procedural thing. Don't take it that way. It's just a procedural thing. I would have rather see the board talk about this first, with the possibility of a company coming in to take over the water company and make the water department employees their employees. I would have liked to have known about this first, before we have someone here
This
talking about it.
information to us is all new too. Yeah.
That's fine. Yeah, I said I'm fine with having information. It's all procedural. This step, this step, this step, this step. That's all.
If I can chime my 2 cents on it, I
Sure.
think that as long as we're not giving the appearance that we're overstepping our authority. Nobody's suggesting that we're hiring these guys without, I asked the question about the employees because I wanted to know more. Because I think we should all know about the options going forward when we start to discuss merger and when they come in. I think it would have been a nice thing to have them in, but we should really explain what our motive is in all of this. All we're trying to do is learn. We're not trying to usurp their authority. We're not trying to get into something that we shouldn't be getting into, right? For me, it's their responsibility to make sure that the water is right. And if they're not doing that, then they should be held accountable by the citizens. They're elected officials just like we are. So, as far as I'm concerned, this is just informational. The more we know, the better. No one's suggesting that we're going to go out and do an RFP on our own and try to hire these guys. I just had when it comes about the employees, I just want to understand the process. So I think it would have been nice to invite them. Do we have to? Not really. All we're doing is just trying to get some education on, how water treatment plants work. And one option is to run it yourself. One option is to privatize it. That's how I look at it here. It's kind of privatizing it and let's let experts run it. If that's the option we go down, that's the road we go down someday with the water commissioners, then that's fine. If not, no harm, no foul. So I don't, again, I just don't want to overstep our authority.
Oh, no, I agree with you. I'm just talking
Absolutely.
about process, the internal process of the board, that's all.
Yeah.
That's all. 'Cause I enjoy listening to this.
Yeah, well, I think the chair has a right to set the agenda. And I don't think the chair is bringing this guy in to say we're going to hire them. I think it's a matter of, this is how some treatment plants work in other communities. That's all. That's how I take it.
Well, and you know what, gentlemen, we've had brown water for people for, as far as I know. I mean, going back years upon years. We've had plenty of time, to bring in different people, talk about it as selectmen, prior boards, everything else. Guys, I'm an action guy, all right? I'm just going to tell you, I'm an action guy, all right? If I see a need, all right, for information, okay, and this is only an information session. Joe, believe me, thank you. We might never see him again, all right? After his presentation, all right, we'll talk about it afterwards, okay? And we might never invite him back because say, yeah, not for us, okay? We say, Joe, thank you for coming in, and that's it, right? But at the end of the day, you guys, we have to take some steps to help the citizens out there, be proactive. And, for, a conversation to be had by myself and the town administrator, as this is an option, then to call an agenda item, hey guys, what do you think about this conversation Mike and I had about bringing in so-and-so, and here's what they can do, and all right, that sounds good, all right, invite Joe. All right, guys, that's an extra step we don't have to take. All right, this is something he can come in, give us the information. At that point, we absorb the information, then we talk about it. Okay, we can talk about it tonight, we can talk about it later, who knows. But we have the information now. Okay, we don't have to talk about whether we want to bring in someone to give us information. That's all we're doing. And if we do want to bring Joe back, okay, with the information he has provided, we'll invite the water department. All right, but if he's not going to come back, that's it. We don't have to invite anybody back. All right, that's just another step. I condensed 3 different meetings into 2. Okay, we have to be proactive and we have to kind of act on this. We have plenty of people in town asking us to act, not talk about whether we should put this on an agenda or that agenda. No, let's put it on the agenda, have an information session. Then, as a board, we'll talk about the information and see what we absorb.
Mr. Chairman, I don't think you have to defend your actions of bringing Joe in.
I don't feel like I'm defending it, but
I think here's the other responsibility of the townspeople that have brown water. There's an election each year for water commissioners, okay? And, if people are not happy, they're certainly not stepping up to the plate and running for those boards. You gotta give the credit to the water commissioners for putting the time in and doing the best they possibly can. So it comes down to some other responsibility too, not just us. And the second thing is, we can never give the appearance that we're trying to take over another board or another operation. And that's, again, I want to make sure that we're cautioned that we're not trying to, I don't think we are, but I don't want to see us give the appearance that we're trying to take over the water department now. That's the only thing,
No,
caution this board.
Yeah. No,
Caution.
absolutely.
It's not,
And if I
but
could-
as we have
But we
the
gotta do
light
something,
department meeting, and
but you know what?
obviously there's
Until
some
they come to us,
well, that's the thing.
let 'em
It's
do their thing.
discussion, right?
right,
They're having discussions. This is a discussion. No, I don't think anybody's anywhere closer, to having any kind of real definitive answer on, what way we're going. I think everyone's collecting data so that we can make a very educated and long-term decision rather than putting Band-Aids on it year after year.
Well, I think this is just
Yeah.
another tool in the toolbox, that's all.
So, Mike, go ahead.
Yeah, and I just want to make it clear too that the commission has through, I don't know if Nick is the chairman, but Nick Lawler is the water commissioner, and he's been speaking with me on a regular basis, keeping me up to date on the process that they're going through. And at every time I speak with him, I remind him, I said, look, the sooner you get to the Board of Selectmen, the better you're gonna be. So they've had 2 meetings with the light department. I think they're, right now, they're backing off. They don't wanna rush it. There's gonna be nothing for the annual town meeting. They were thinking maybe waiting for the fall town meeting. I reminded them, though, that it's been the Board of Selectmen's policy not to have any major decisions in the fall because of the poor attendance. So they're aware of that, and so they said, well, then maybe we'll just have to wait another, till a year from now, town meeting, to get their
So,
act together.
And what I think is vitally important is that you, Mike, as our representative, kind of on the street, is making sure that you're having those conversations about that operation, that it's running properly. Because the last thing we need is a repeat of what's happened out in the Midwest. So it seems to me that they're taking their responsibility very seriously and making sure that they got somebody in there running that plant.
They did, they are, Jim's last day, he brought, next to the last day, he brought the new manager, Bruce Trumbull, in to meet with me, and Bruce attended a lengthy 2-hour staff meeting last Wednesday, participated fully, got to know everybody, his counterparts that he has to work with in planning and building department and everybody else. So he's off to a good start, and he's planning on communicating with all the department heads in the town.
I mean, how often are they communicating to you that the place is running properly and safely?
I don't get any regular reports.
Well, I think we should be getting some type of update on that. I mean, if they're not running you said they hired a manager, right?
Yes,
A contracted company like this to come in and run it.
smaller organization, yeah.
Okay. All right. I mean, again, that's their responsibility. And we just want to make sure there's someone an expert in place that's running because what's the town going to be worth if we have bad water? DEP will be all over us too. You can see the nightmare that's happened in other communities.
I could, Mr. Chair. So, just to clarify my comments earlier, when I said it's our decision if we were to merge. So, not our decision here to decide if we want to have a consultant come in and work on the water department. That's not our decision to make, and obviously I would.
Understood.
Yeah, I would consult with just looking at this big picture. This may not be what we've done in the past, but at least I'm trying, on the time being on this board, I'm trying to reach out to other departments, because the way that our government is structured now, right? It's decentralized, so everybody is working off in their own space, right? Decisions are being made in a vacuum. All that I'm trying to do, and I don't want to speak for Selectman Bonavita, but I'm trying to open up the doors and say, guys, even though you don't report to us, it's okay if we communicate. It's okay if we ask people to come in, and then look, you can watch this meeting, and you could, decide if something is if that's advantageous for your group. By all means, we are not trying to take over water department. We have the experts over there that we're relying on. But as a town, and we're responsible for the town, right? Responsible to the townspeople. If the townspeople are coming to us, asking us what's going on, I don't see any reason why we can't get involved. But decision-making, we're not going to overstep our bounds and say, I'll decide what's gonna happen in this town. That's absolutely not what we're doing. So I just wanna make sure that's
So can
clear.
I ask a question as to that?
Sure.
How many people have come before us as a board?
Not sure your question. Is that a question for me?
How many
Question-
people?
Perhaps a question for Mike. Have we had correspondences to this board as a board of selectmen from, okay,
From the water department?
townspeople, from townspeople?
They don't have to come here. I mean, they
People
could talk.
People make phone calls, we meet
Make
people
phone calls, you talk
at
to
the Dunkin'
people.
Donuts and the Honeydews.
I agree.
Yeah, we,
That's
But-
enough
but
correspondence
you're
for me, Gary.
responding it to as we respond as a board to these things, and, so, enough for now.
We do respond to them as a board, which is why we're bringing it up now, and we're responding to it. You know, I don't know. Someone's not going to bring up a concern. I'm going to blow them off. You know, I mean, that's not what our job is here. We got to take people's feedback and do our best, you know, to help situations.
I think we've been very good about that. I think that this board's been very good when a selectman has an issue. You know, we bring it to the board or we bring it to the chair and it gets on the agenda. I don't, you know, I don't see where we've ignored anybody's request to get something out in the open, so.
Well, and again, this is a perfect example. If we find as a board that this is something that we should approach the water department with, we'll do it. We'll call them in. We'll call Joe back in and say, you know, this is something that, you know, you might want to explore. Okay, we have maybe a dual meeting, and you know, Joe can do his presentation again, and we go from there. But if we find that it is not, then we won't even bother. So, all right. Any other questions? I had a question, Joe. So, I think you had mentioned you haven't spoken with Mike about Georgetown Water at all,
Nope.
right?
Nope, Mike,
Have you had any past experience? I mean, I know you put it in a bid, you know, for this thing already. You put it in a bid without knowing, you know, anything about the issues here in town with that water, or?
I was a person involved in getting the candidate that we offered, but I wasn't the person who was dealing with the water commission as far as what, if any, issues there were. So my involvement with that proposal to provide them with a manager was to do some write-ups about other towns that we had provided a part-time manager or temporary manager.
Mhm.
I got that historic information together, and then I talked to the candidate that I had in mind for the temporary position here. But as far as the ins and outs and issues or non-issues, I haven't spoken to anyone on the water commission, no.
No. Okay.
That was one of my colleagues who did, but not me.
Okay. So with towns that you have worked with that have had some real issues, you know, with their water, okay, how long do you see when you guys actually come in, you know, and you take over the ops there, okay? How long does it generally take for, you know, to see some kind of improvement, you know, within the water?
Anywhere from 6 to 9 months.
6 to 9 months, okay? And how do you go about doing that? Do you go out and talk to the citizens who are having issues? I mean, do we invite, you know, citizens to call, you know, and kind of voice their displeasure on certain things, or?
It really depends on what the specific issues are. You know, if in some communities we deal with aesthetic quality, you know, like rust or yellow water or black water, caused by different things like iron and manganese or other things. In other communities, it might be they're having trouble meeting regulatory requirements. You know, they're not, they're having coliform bacteria hits, or they're having issues trying to maintain the turbidity, which is the amount of suspended material that is allowed in the water. So it really depends on what that specific issue is, and then generally what we do is we go in and look at it from the beginning to the end to try to find a solution. Is it somewhere coming from the treatment plant? Is the treatment plant the right type of plant to treat this? Is there anything that we can do to that current treatment plant to help with this issue? Is it something in the distribution system? Are there dead ends? What's the water age? Should there be loops in a certain area? Or should there be something called a blow-off that blows off water that keeps water fresh? So it really runs the gambit from a whole bunch of different things. Like for instance, in Lawrence, it was mainly regulatory-based issues where DEP was upset because certain things weren't being met. You know, it was a brand new facility. It was a difficult facility to run. We got that turned around pretty quickly. Other problems could take longer than that to solve. If it really depends on what the issue is.
So you've mentioned Lawrence a couple of times. I was going to ask for kind of a recent success story, okay, in terms of beginning to end. How you kind of came in, what you did, and kind of where that ended up. Maybe you can reference Lawrence. How did that transpire?
That transpired because they had a new facility that was replacing a facility that was built in 1933.
Joe, feel free to sit down, by the way.
Oh, sure. So they had an old facility that was built in 1933, and it was a filtration plant that got its source water from the Merrimack River. And as you probably can imagine, that's not the most easy water to treat because it's constantly changing. There's all kinds of variables, with rainfall and snowfall and wind.
Stormwater.
Stormwater, all kinds of stuff. And so after that plant went online, the city had suffered a lot of, they were out of compliance and from sampling. They weren't taking the samples when they should have been. There was a couple of issues at the plant. And then they had a big issue where the filtration process wasn't working the way that it should have been. We were called in by the DEP to provide training and to provide guidance with the operators in Lawrence. And so we went in there and the plant went online in March of 2007. We were there in November of 2007 because they had issues all between March and November. We got our people in there. We got the plant running the way that it should have been. We fixed some issues. Some of them were design issues. Some of them were just people forgetting to do what they were supposed to do as far as sampling, and some of the operation issues that had to do with, the guys weren't properly trained, didn't know how to recognize why that problem, a particular problem, was happening and what to do about it. And so after we had straightened, got some stability there, we went into a series of 90-day and 60-day contracts for a couple of years with the town, with the city. And then 10 years ago? No, 5 years ago, we finally went on to a contract, 5-year contract. So we've been there for a total of 10 plus years now. So we operate the treatment facility. We do the sampling and the distribution system. We do all the testing. The city is still responsible. It depends on what the town, the municipality's needs are. The city still runs the distribution system. For instance, we just operate the facility. Some places we do both, like in Cohasset. We operate the facility and they're in charge of the distribution system. It depends on the need. So we signed that contract with Lawrence, and actually it's up, according to state law, you can only be there for so long without sending it out for an RFP again.
Okay.
So our RFP is up in June 30th this year. It'll be going out to bid again. Hopefully we'll get it. We might not. It's competitively bid. Usually the people who bid the projects will submit a technical proposal. And they'll say, like, okay, this is what we're going to do technically. This is how we're going to make this place work and how it's going to run. And then they submit a price proposal. And most towns, the price proposal is the thing that they counts the most, So they want to make sure they're getting the bang for their buck. And and like I said, in all of these contracts, there's certain things, this criteria we have to meet. If we don't meet that criteria, you know, they can just throw us out the door. They'll give us a 30, 60-day notice, and, you know, they'll go out to get somebody else. Or even, we've had municipalities try us out. We might be there 10, 15 years, and then say, you know what, we're gonna try to do this ourselves in-house.
Yep.
You know,
Joe, what are the expectations, or Mike, maybe you can answer this based on your experience. How is this all paid for? You know, I guess, I mean, you guys come in, obviously, you're gonna, you know, require X amount of dollars to, you know, to do this. I mean, what is generally the basis for, you know, payment? Are we raising, i.e., you know, the cost, you know, to, you know, the payers, the citizens?
Well, it's
to,
paid
you know,
for by the water rates.
Right, that's what I'm saying. So what are the general expectations around the increase on those rates?
there might not be an increase. That depends. We could find some ways to save money. A lot of those things are written into our contracts where we will say, like, okay, if we find a way that we can save on the electrical bill or the chemical consumption or things of that nature, you know, we'll do it, and, you know, 75% of the savings will go to the town, 25% will go to us. It doesn't always go up. That's a misconception. A lot of people don't get it, but it doesn't always go up.
Towns aren't always the most efficient.
Right. We generally find some efficiencies that the town doesn't have, is the way that it works. Like, you know, so, for instance, scheduling, you know, so I'm assuming that the water department's unionized. Is that true?
Yes.
So scheduling, one of our facilities requires somebody there 7 days a week, 8 hours a day. So one guy works Wednesday through Sunday, the other guy works, fills in the other 5 days there. So we have an overlap, so there's two guys on site together 3 days a week, and they cover the other days by themselves, and it's a small system. So in a union environment, they might not be able to do that, because the union contract might say, okay, we get the overtime for Saturday and Sunday. I'm not working Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. But we have plenty of contracts that we deal with unions too, though. It's not like the union is automatically going to go away. We do have several facilities that are unionized,
Okay.
that we deal with.
Okay. All right. Those are the questions I had. Anybody else have any questions for Joe? No? Joe, thank you very much.
All right,
Oh, good.
the one last thing I want to say is, I think, you know, if the town ever ends up going down this road, the one point that I always like to tell people is they have the tendency to think that they're giving up control of their water system, where I would argue till my last day on earth that the exact opposite is true, that the town has so much more control when they got somebody like me that they can call to bring in to be accountable, or my boss, or, you know, it's right there in the contract what things are supposed to say, and we serve the communities at their pleasure, and it's just something to consider.
Okay. Joe, thank you very
All
much.
right,
for the
thank
time.
you. Thank you, everyone.
I appreciate it.
Make you understand what you do.
Thank you.
All right. All right, moving forward. So I want to hop to the letter of retirement from our town clerk, Janice McGrain. I want to read that. This letter is my official notification to you that my last day of work with the town of Georgetown will be on Friday, August 17th of 2018. On that day, I plan to retire. I'm excited about my impending retirement. So I wanted to take the opportunity to thank you and the Highway Surveyor, Peter Durkee, for all the opportunities that I have experienced over the last 28 years. I would like to thank the citizens of Georgetown for having faith in me by electing me to the town clerk's position for the past 20. I have generally enjoyed my employment with the town of Georgetown. So Janice, you know, I want to just, you know, really applaud Janice for a very long standing tenure here in Georgetown. I've always enjoyed talking to Janice, and I think she's done a great job, downstairs and really communicating with our public. So congratulations on your retirement. I hope it's everything that you want it to be, and certainly thank you on behalf of the town for your tenure here in Georgetown.
Likewise.
Echo those,
Yeah,
yes.
it's a good asset for the community
Yeah,
for a
great
number of
job.
years.
All right, so starting at the top, minutes. Everybody have a chance to review the minutes?
Yep.
Okay, any comments, questions? If not,
On the minutes, you're
Yes.
talking about the minutes from
for
2/18?
February 12th, 2018.
We've got two sets.
Oh, February 12th, 2018.
I make a
Select-
motion to accept the selectmen meeting minutes for 2/12/2018 as presented.
Okay, the motion, we have a second?
Is this for the meeting on the second floor or the third floor?
It's the executive session minutes?
The third, no, that's the general
This is-
meeting is what I'm reading?
Yeah, the general
sorry.
meeting,
So
third
third
floor meeting.
floor?
Yep.
Okay.
I'm
hold on,
sorry,
let me
I
get
jumped
there.
ahead, yeah.
All right, I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second for the general meeting on the third floor. Okay. Any further discussion on that? Questions?
Yeah.
I do. Okay.
Yep, go ahead.
Go ahead, Gary.
Yeah, at some point tonight, Mr. Chair, I've got a correspondence from KP that I want to bring up to, and I think it, on page 4 of 6, okay, at the top. Second sentence, talking Mr. Fowler. Second sentence, it says, I stated that we have to be careful with social media, and he, meaning I, is concerned on the we, which was another statement that I heard earlier on when I asked how it got here, it was we. And I found it interesting that at our meeting in, the day of our meeting, the 26th, in February, that we didn't have, there was a correspondence in there, an email correspondence from KP Law, and at some point tonight, I would like to discuss that and just this issue that I brought up that night. So I'd like to perhaps know where you feel that would fit in tonight, whether you want me to go there now where it was mentioned in the minutes, or do you want me to hold off?
We'll hold off on that.
Okay. Perhaps under correspondence or old business, perhaps, okay. So that was mine. I really have no objection. I just wanted to point that out and say that I had like to have some discussion on, follow-up discussion on that.
Okay, I do on a couple. I have one on page 3 of 6, towards the bottom. There were two places. I'll start with here. Mr. Surface stated that nicotine would move up to 21 like alcohol. He stated recreational marijuana is also 21 years of age. Mr. Dawes stated it will be 21 years of age. I don't know what that means. What would be 21 years of age? I think that if I remember the conversation, I think I was talking about that the state has legislation to make it 21, and I suspected that the state would do that to 21. I just wanted to clarify that.
Okay.
And then the next sentence down says, Mr. Dawes stated that cannabis and salts would be included to this. What that needs to be changed to, I had suggested that synthetic cannabis and products like spice be included in this. Now, the Board of Health didn't see it that way, so I don't know where that falls. Then on page 4 of 6, towards the top, says Mr. Dawes stated Georgetown Cares does not have an opinion. I think that needs some clarification, because I had stated that the Georgetown Cares Coalition Committee is a committee that was formed for educational resources only, and that as such, we did not have an opinion to be rendered on whether the age should be 21 for tobacco products. So I'd like that to reflect that.
Okay.
Then further down on that page, let me see. Okay, Mr. Fowler moved to amend that the Board of Health review, that'd be the second one down. The motion was amended and was approved, and then we went into a motion by Selectman Surface about making the Board of Selectmen's will known to the Board of Health. And I'd like the record to reflect that I had asked the Board of Selectmen not to impose its will or interfere with the Board of Health transaction, deliberations. And I have another clarification on 5 of 6, when we were talking about the plastic bags, the one-use plastic bags, single-use plastic bags. And I thought it needs to, so Mr. Dawes stated that he agrees with Mr. Fowler that he does not like to be told by government what to do. He stated he uses cloth at the store. My wife and I do, she does, but I hold them for her. And what I was talking about in that, and I'd like the record to clarify it, was that although I believe we all need to be good stewards of the earth, I believe that the town would be better suited or better represented if we would be discussing recycling. I mean, instead of the, what I feel is feel-good, me too type of regulations. We could get into a whole discussion, which I'm not going to, about plastics. But I'd like the record to reflect that I thought we'd be better served discussing recycling. Oh, and then we're further down. We were talking about on 5 of 6, the very last section on cannabis. Mr. Dawes stated May 1st would be the first year. So that sentence there, receive $100,000 and blah, blah, blah. And stated we need to look at police and fire items if we can purchase these items. And Mr. Surface stated to develop an SOP, which is, I think we're all fine with talking about this. What I want the record to show is that I did say that we need to discuss how we're going to spend the $100,000. We keep kicking the can down the road. And I suggested that we use it on 3 items that appear on the warrant.
Can I ask a question on that, though?
Sure.
These are the minutes of what was said at the meeting.
That's right. Well, I'm just making the record clear because I had
actually
said
That
these
mean,
things,
okay.
yeah.
All right. Question.
And for that minute, the meeting, that's all I have. Thanks. I never made changes to
Did
it.
you state the 3 things you wanted it spent on?
Yeah, we did. It's in the warrant. I'd have to look at the warrant. They were the radios, the auction bottles, and there was something else. I forget. But the
Point of clarification, Mr. Chair. Do we typically review the video before we go and make all these changes?
No.
I mean, there's a lot, right? This is actually
I
the
may have
first time
to
I've,
look at the
yeah.
video to make these changes.
I have
I mean,
asked before, and, maybe if you wanna look and see just what I said, because I sometimes say I can't really remember. But I
Okay.
don't think that was the way I'm going, and typically it's always been corrected. So,
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Just curious.
Well, then I think we should wait on the vote.
Yep.
I can hold off on
You
that
think?
and redo.
Well, you have a motion and a second, so
Yeah.
you need to take a vote.
Yeah.
All those in favor?
All right. So all those in favor?
Nay.
and-
Those opposed?
Nay.
Nay.
Opposed, yeah, nay.
Yep.
Okay.
So we're holding off on that one, Jen.
Yeah.
All right. And then we have, back to that.
Yeah, I'm
Mr.
sorry, I
Chair, I
skipped
make a
over that one,
motion
yeah.
to accept the minutes of the 6 PM special meeting, second floor meeting room of the town hall on February 12, 2018, as presented.
I'll second it.
Okay, motion and a second. Any further discussion on this one? Okay, if not, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay. All right, so next on the agenda, housing and economic development. Has everybody had the chance to read, this letter? Okay,
This is the one from,
from John?
oh, this one, okay.
That's the one you,
I have a
went
process
to,
question.
With the
Yeah. Right here.
Lieutenant
Right
Governor.
So, Mike, are they just gonna write us a blanket $50,000 check and send it to us, or do we
No.
have to come up with the project that we're gonna use, and then they would have to certify it? To say, hey, that's an acceptable use for the money that we have earmarked for you?
No, we'll be working with the mass development. This is the result of the meeting we had in September with Peter Milano.
Right, I
His
understand.
staff.
Right.
And we'll be working out a scope, be primarily with John Cashel and the staff
Okay.
to do the site readiness program.
Well, but that still doesn't answer my question. We haven't picked what we really want to use the money for. I mean, there's traffic, there was, a package storage treatment plant, there's a bunch of things there.
No, you're confusing the two.
Okay,
No,
that's what his
yeah,
letter
to be
said.
careful not to, yeah, but
We have two letters.
Okay, so,
Which one are we talking about right now?
All right,
One
so
is the
the
site
one
readiness grant, and the
from the
other is a
governor?
letter from John Cash.
From John.
so there was a maybe I mixed them up, but there was the one that I thought was about the $50,000, because it
they're
refers to.
both for
They're both
50.
50.
Oh, that's the thing, yeah.
confusion.
Okay, so it's the site readiness program is different than the 50 we got for economic development.
That's
Yeah.
correct.
Thank you. But that economic development one, how, are they just gonna cut us a check for 50,000 and we use it for what we want?
No, we have
They
to,
made it
we
sound
have
like
to
that.
sign a contract with somebody to do the study for us.
Okay.
And
This one.
that's outlined in
Within
his
those
letter,
purview
so
of
that's
those. Okay.
within
All right,
John's
I got
letter,
it.
yeah.
All right, yep.
This is John's letter.
Mr.
It
Chairman,
has
I
to be
might,
used
Yep.
quickly, though. That's
we
the
have
thing.
to have something under contract
Yeah,
prior to the end of this fiscal year.
Yeah.
Okay.
and
that
that's,
was the question.
thank you for throwing that in,
Alright.
that was my next. So John, as you see by this letter, and I wanted to talk about this because I think it's a really, important step that we have to take, because we do have to identify the project. We have to identify where the funds are going, because if we don't use it by that time frame, David, we lose it.
Right.
Okay.
On which one though? The site readiness or the other?
No,
one?
the economic
John
development. Yeah, the John Cashel. So it's titled Economic Development Grant, updated downtown master
Right,
business
right, I
plan.
got it. Oh yeah, and there was a bunch of stuff within that we would want to hire somebody to take a look at.
Right, we're looking at more downtown on this one, David, because it's probably the biggest concern of that board.
I agree.
In really identifying some ways to kind of energize
Which-
downtown, some steps we have to take.
Which could lead to us using that land that we acquired, that property that we acquired as part of it. I don't know if that's, because it says it's storage treatment system.
The plan that John has, and John's doing a fabulous job, with that. But John is really the reason why he wants to focus this money on this plan is he's doing a really great job communicating with the Merrimack Valley Planning, right? Whatever.
Commission.
And he feels like the money is gonna be better spent downtown than it is on that land. He doesn't feel like he
But
really
it could
needs
lead
that.
to use
Could
for
lead,
that.
yes.
Could lead.
But
Okay.
but really, the board feels that this is more of a
Oh, I agree.
a target.
Yeah.
In terms of what we
Well,
use the money
these
for
are-
now.
If
And
I
I
might,
think that-
these are
Hold
the,
on. Go ahead.
these are the four elephants in the room.
Yep.
That's stymieing any type of
Growth.
development for downtown.
Right.
Revitalization, I should say, for downtown.
Agreed.
So if I may, Mr. Chair?
Steve actually has the floor next.
Yeah,
I mean, I think overall here, the goal is to update the master plan. So that's, you know, that's the end game here for us to take this information and update the master plan, so. But I just wanted to echo what Joe had said. I mean, I'm truly impressed by the commitment and work ethic that our town planner has put in since he started. And I think he's gonna help us do a lot of great things for this town. So he's actively involved in the economic development meetings. He's proactive about giving us updates and giving, you know, information that we need. And he's working, you know, the board specifically asked him if there's anything that we could help him from, and he's got it all handled. He said, I will update you, I will take care of this, and I can't thank him enough for what he's done to date, so.
Yep.
Point of clarification,
Yes, sir.
when you say master plan, you have to be specific. Say downtown master
That's,
plan.
okay, I was,
Because the master plan is by
For the downtown.
planning board.
Yes, exactly,
so if I
exactly.
may,
Don't wanna
Mr. Chair,
cross
after
that-
Mike's done.
Yes, right. Again, we don't wanna take over planning either, so let everyone know that.
Yep, all right, Gary. go ahead.
So as a matter of procedure, I think what this is a recommendation from the Economic Development Committee to us that they would like this grant, which I think ultimately falls under our jurisdiction, to do something with the downtown, an updated downtown master plan. And I guess, so what would be, do we need a motion that's also, I mean, we're not saying, we're not granting any contacts, but do we want to say that we're in agreement that, yes, this is that what
I
we're looking
believe
for
so.
tonight?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is a
So I don't know-
recommendation
I
by
don't
the
know a
EDC
proper
to you guys.
motion for that, but David's usually a good motion
Would
guy.
that be to empower the
If he so feels.
Economic Development Committee
Right.
to utilize those monies?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
So I would make a motion that the Board of Selectmen
Yeah.
support
Go ahead.
the recommendation of the Economic Development Committee as notated in a letter from John Cashel dated, I got a date on it, I can't. did I
Yeah, the
screw it?
28th of February
February
February.
28th, 2018.
I'll
for the
second.
economic development grant.
Right.
Okay, thank you, David. We have a motion in a second. Any further discussion from the board? Okay, if not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay.
Oh boy, I lost my,
All right, now, I started off with that one, but we'll go back up. Now the second $50,000 under correspondence, housing and economic development, the $50,000 grant. And this is for the site readiness, David.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
good job, that.
Has everybody had an opportunity to read this?
yes.
Okay, so discussion on this letter.
Well, John and I went to Shrewsbury with Lieutenant Governor Polito. There were several communities there that received these operational readiness grants, from several $1,000s like we have to several hundreds of thousands of dollars. And John was glad to accept this $50,000 for the site readiness of for the National Way or National Ave, but also it's a whole industrial overlay district that
Right.
will be working with that economic development town will be working with the Mass Development Corporation, right? And it was a nice time, and we were glad to accept it. We found that Chris John got back
Who's
and
in the
opened the
envelope?
envelope, and there was nothing in the envelope.
Typical politician. So on this here, what's the next step on this? The town planner and the planning board, along with economic development, have to submit an additional scope of work, or we just
No,
get this
Planning
50?
board is not involved.
Okay, so it's just directly Board of Selectmen.
Yes.
Okay, so how do we get on?
John's the front man.
Right,
With mass development.
so how do we move our project forward as the next
They'll
question?
be, they'll be working with John to move it forward.
Okay. And submit whatever we need to submit and what the ideas are, similar to that other grant.
Well, they're going to look at things. We don't, they know what they're doing a general, they have to find out what they think is best for the site.
Okay.
They're gonna tell us what the highest and best use of the site is.
Okay. So we got two $50,000 grants from the state. Nice.
One, and so one for, National Ave and one
Site
for
specific.
downtown.
Right, right. Okay.
Just the beginning.
Yep, Gary.
If I remember correctly from the meeting, also the Economic Development Committee meeting, this was also a I don't know what you might call it, Steve, an active priority site for Merrimack Valley Planning Commission also, right? They went around and picked out several sites in the area, and wasn't this, I believe John told us that this was one of them, and that's part of what this grant
I think you're right.
would
yeah.
work for.
I don't remember.
But,
No, that is correct.
But also at that meeting, he mentioned, I'll briefly touch on it. He mentioned that we have to get moving a litigation case that's coming up. Has any action been taken on that?
For the frontage.
Yes,
Frontage.
yes.
Yeah,
And
there was
Eminent
legal
domain.
discussion about that just today.
So,
Yes,
so
that's
where
right.
are we with that? I mean, as a board, he felt that we really need to move on that end
Yeah,
of
I
it.
sent an email to Mike, and I think
Okay.
you followed
So
up
we
with.
will
you just
be,
said you
we
followed
will
up.
be following the.
Yeah,
Okay,
John and I were speaking with KMP today on that issue.
Yeah, I think there was some miscommunication about who owned it and who the conversation, but I think that's. what
I'm
you
trying
said.
not to say too much, because when you get into litigation, who knows, so just,
We're on top of it.
thank you.
Mike, the question I have about that is, and I don't know if it says in here, maybe I skipped it. What exactly can that, is there a certain, are there certain things that this $50,000 could be spent on within the scope of that project? Is it, do we have to hire, is that for hiring an architect? Is it designed to, is there set it to something?
You're talking about the National Ave
The
site?
National Ave, yep. What can that $50,000 be used for?
For all the consultants that are needed to be hired to determine what the highest and best use of property is.
All right, so it's a more of a consulting fee.
They have in-house staff, but they hire out, they hire consultants to help them.
Because one of the things that I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, that I believe is being talked about, with that frontage is, I know it's gonna be litigated, but, is there still discussion to avoid litigation by just offering to purchase the land?
John and I've had conversation with the landowner, and he's, at this time, is not interested in selling.
He's not interested, okay. All right. So with him not being interested in selling, this is most definitely gonna be litigated.
Not necessarily.
It is,
We could, and we talked about it, and I think I've mentioned this to you, we could enter into a joint development
Yeah, you had mentioned that.
agreement and combine our 24 acres and his 24 acres into one offer.
Okay. All right, I just want to be clear on what we can use the money for. Because if we had say the opportunity to just buy the land, would this $50,000 be open just to kind of put it in a bid and just buy it and avoid the aggravation of it all? So, okay. Do we actually have to do anything with this, Mike? I don't see.
No, this is
No,
just
just
a
an FYI, right?
Yeah.
That's what I figured. Okay. All right. Any other discussion on that from the board?
No, I think it's a good start.
Oh, no doubt.
with both of these.
Yep, no doubt.
Moving forward now.
Thanks to Peter Milano.
Hmm?
Thank you, Peter Milano and his group,
Yeah.
pushing that, and Bruce Tar, Senator Tar was
Well, you know,
instrumental.
let's hope it's not the usual. They give you a little here and they take a little away there.
I was just waiting for that skeptical moment from Gary on that one. So
Well, you know,
that's part of the deal.
Ray section.
But you know what? Again, we do have to thank Senator
yeah,
Todd
I agree.
because again, that's a conversation he and I had a long time ago. It was turned down, as he said. I didn't even realize he was still working on it.
He
I really
stepped up.
didn't, and he
Yep.
kept working on it, which I didn't even know he was still going at it. So, another thank you to him. He did a great job on that. Let's see, draft bike race event application for review. Mike, what's all this about?
Bike race?
Is there a specific bike race we're talking about? Or-
No, that was from me, and actually
Maybe
Scott.
Janet's name belongs next to that. Yeah.
Yes, that, we've had so many
Oh, here it is.
different applications lately for bike races in town.
Yeah.
Actually, talking with the police department, they were, hoping we could come up with a, some type of,
Standardized form?
yeah, an application with, getting all the, something more standard. And so I sent this over, I found this from another town. And just, sent it over, and the police department looked it over, and they were happy with it. And,
Okay.
just because we get a lot of people calling, it's what, it's, we tell them what to do, send a letter, but this would just be a little bit, would include, make sure they include all the information and tells them what to do and actually,
Is this just for a bike race, or is it for running as well? And
it could
Bike
be,
road,
for
could be
anything?
for a running, any kind of an event.
That could be bike road race event.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Do we have any plans to put it on the website for people
well,
to
we could if
submit
it
it?
was improved,
Yeah.
if you guys approved
Approve
it,
it?
we could
Sure.
put it on
Okay.
the website, yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
I
and I'd be able to email it out, people
Yeah.
called, I could email it out to them, and,
well, I truly feel if I'm thinking the chief review this.
yes.
Okay. I'm good with it.
Lieutenant Hatch as well.
Yeah.
And the
You
chief-
reviewed it
I
too?
think they responded.
Okay, awesome. Then I'm good with it.
I mean, do we really have to approve it? I mean, the agency can.
I was gonna say, I think it's really up to them, right?
Well, you approve, it's, the
No.
selectmen have to approve the
A form?
event,
Really?
so- Well, the event, so it's,
But there's no event though. It's not a specific
No.
event.
Form.
It's
well, I
just a
guess
form.
it's just, you're
it's like,
okay.
maybe it would be better under a policy or a SOP to approve it that way.
I
No,
mean,
it's not
maybe-
our SOP. It's just a form by the agency. I mean, they issue
No,
other
it's a
forms.
form
with
by
us.
us.
Is it?
Oh,
Yeah,
it's a
Town of
town
Georgetown.
app.
Is it a
an
town app?
application
Okay.
form
That's what I'm missing. All right.
for other events to.
All right,
apply.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we accept the draft bike slash race event application submitted by the Georgetown Police Department for approval.
Second.
Okay, motion is second. Further discussion?
Yeah, so by the slash, are we saying bike slash, do we wanna say road race, or where's the slash going? Because there's a slash on here.
I've asked Lieutenant Hatch on that.
I would say
So would
bike.
this cover bike races and road races and
It says slash event.
slash events? So,
Could be any
That
event.
covers everything.
Actually, the application itself was submitted by the town to us to review.
oh,
We
okay.
didn't submit the application, we had just
Right.
requested, because we had so many people coming to us, that come to me and ask, I'd say you have to go to, town, to Janet.
Sure.
To talk to them first, to get approval, then come to us, for the so there was an application project submitted to us to look at, so we didn't, per se, ask for the application, or do the application, we just reviewed the application that was given to us.
Okay. I mean, an event is pretty broad.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
that's
let them
what I'm
use it.
thinking
Let,
here,
yeah,
yeah.
but let them use it for what they need it for.
Yep, yep.
Yeah.
That's all.
So
Let them
as,
apply it
so
as-
it's as presented, I guess.
Right.
Yep.
So I won't say as submitted by the police department, to be utilized by the police department.
Thank you.
How's that?
Okay. Any other further discussion? No? Okay, then all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay. Thanks for looking that over, Lieutenant. Appreciate that. Street acceptance, it says Peter Durkee to be present, so I don't know if we want to move forward with this or not, with Peter not here.
We should skip it.
Yep, I agree.
Peter's
Busy.
asleep, waiting for the snow to start.
Yeah.
We deserve.
If he's watching this meeting, he's probably fast asleep.
All right.
Can I ask a question to that? I mean, are we skipping over it, or?
If people fall asleep during our meeting?
Yeah, because I think on this one, I asked for Peter to be
Yeah,
here about
present.
this, and then,
Yeah, but what, I'm confused because we were advised to send it to planning, and I thought that somewhere in here I saw a letter coming back from planning that no, it's up to us.
right, and before we wanted, at least before I could make a decision, I wanted to hear from Peter on some of this, because he didn't agree with everything.
Yeah, and I had some
We had some questions for him.
Yeah. So,
So just a quick point on this, there's a placeholder for this though on the warrant or no? Street acceptance.
For, yes.
So if
For-
we meet
for
again.
one of the streets.
Oh, for one of them?
I think it was Mohawk.
So,
No, there's,
No, it was Chaplain Hills,
no,
was it?
no, the
Turning
north side-
leaf.
Turning Leaf. Oh, Jesus.
We would have got
Get
it
your development
eventually.
straight, David.
Turning leaf, which, that was
okay,
a separate request
but
from
these
the
here
developer.
aren't on.
No.
No,
Okay,
no.
all right, very good.
all right. Next is the acceptance. Yeah, for the mixed unit AFSCME. Mike, maybe you can bring us up to speed on this.
Yeah, this is just, we want to get something signed so the employees can get paid. This is just a memorandum of understanding of what we agreed to in contract negotiations that actually had an effect on the contract, that changed contract language. We haven't put it into the overall contract yet, because we're trying to clean it up from past editions like we did with the police contracts. So these are everything that you've already ratified as part of the contract negotiations. Well, most notably the wages. There were some other minor changes in you know, the lead dispatcher termination, emergency medical dispatch certification for a stipend. And we cleared up some language as far as the grievance procedure is concerned to make it match one of the other contracts, so we didn't have different periods of you know, that we had to act in. So it makes it easier to manage the contract that way. But the amounts of money we'd already talked about, and frankly, we had money in the FY17 budget to cover this, and it's reflected in the I'm sorry, the FY18 budget, and these numbers are reflected in the proposed FY19 budget as well.
Okay.
So we're just asking the board to approve the MOU and sign it.
Contract increases, not cost of living. I have
Yeah, I
a
don't
question
know.
for you, Mike. Down, number 1, Article 20 on the first page, where it says wages across the board, COLA. Were these not contract increases and not a cost of living adjustment?
There's two adjustments there. There's a 50-cent across the board increase to their base rate each year, 50, 50, and 50 each year. So it's $1.50 over the 3 years, and then 2% increase on top of that.
Right, but that's a contract increase and not a cost of living adjustment.
Well, it's 6 of one, half a dozen of the other.
I just wanted that clarified.
Okay, so that, if I may, that's what we agreed to, that's not a COLA, we're just calling it across the board cost of living.
Yeah.
Okay. May I ask a question, Mr. Chair,
Yes,
also?
sir.
I remember most of these except number 4. Not sure I remember discussion on that one. Does the rest of the board remember that?
I don't remember.
Is this
that
the
either.
one about the,
The second page, number 4, lead dispatcher.
Well, that's already in the contract, there's no changes? Is that what you're saying?
They used to appoint, actually, Scott might be able to help me with that, the lead dispatcher as the Criminal Justice Information Services representative.
Prestigious rep, and they got a stipend for that.
Yeah, but it wasn't always the lead dispatcher, it was
Oh.
a dispatcher.
okay.
Who basically volunteered to do it. Now,
Gosh, I
we're
do remember something like
designating the lead dispatcher for that
Okay,
position.
I just saying, I don't remember the discussion on that during our negotiations, so there's really no,
I seem to remember discussions on lead dispatcher, yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
In relation to that, I guess. Okay.
Further questions, concerns? Okay, do you hear a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I move that the Board of Selectmen approve the memorandum of agreement between the town of Georgetown and the American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees, AFL-CIO, Massachusetts Council, State Council 93, pound 939, Georgetown Police Fire and Police Signal Operators, DPW, and clerical employees, July 1st, 2017 through June 30, 2020, as it's presented to us here.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion, a second. Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Opposed? Okay. Alright. Okay. Next.
Mr. Chair, do you want me here in the old business to bring up about that correspondence, or did you have a place yet that you'd like to hear from me?
I'll let you know.
Okay.
So the MOU for the Veteran Services, Selectman Dawes.
Okay.
You're on.
As the Board of Selectmen designee to the Board of Directors for the East Essex Veteran Services District, our Veteran Services Officer at our last meeting presented us with this new document called the Memorandum of Agreement between the Military Division of the Commonwealth and the Town of Georgetown Veteran Services Division. In essence, this is a new document that authorizes who has access to veteran records. And in this case, the Commonwealth will provide those records to Georgetown, but Georgetown's point of access is the Veteran Services Officer. This is just a housekeeping document for that I need to sign, but have to have the board's permission to sign. You guys all see that and read it? Yeah.
Pretty standard?
Yeah, oh, I mean, it's a new document from the Commonwealth. And I can tell you that the Board of Directors for the Veteran Services District are all in favor of this, but we each have to go to our boards and just have the authorization to sign for the board as a designee.
So I make a motion that we designate Esther Dawes to sign the memorandum of agreement between the Military Division of the Commonwealth and Town of Georgetown Veteran Services Division as presented.
I'll make that motion. Will your temporary chair?
Okay.
I'll make the motion.
Sure.
Okay,
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make that motion. Take the, it's up
That's
to
a
you.
good,
Okay,
that was a good call.
There you go. All right, you gonna call the vote?
Yeah,
then?
we get a second for that?
Gary.
Yeah, Gary.
Okay. Any further discussion?
Hurry up.
Nope. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Or,
no,
or whatever.
Is it coming?
How many copies of this do you need?
Okay.
You have to sign in
I
copy?
have to sign it.
Yeah, one.
Okay.
We'll just make
But you want a
photocopies.
copy
You wanna
for
take a
yourself?
5-minute recess?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'll sign this and then you guys can.
That's all right.
We'll make
Okay,
a
keep going.
We keep going.
Further mechanism.
It looks like the next item on here was the draft joint maintenance agreement between the town and the school department. Were we planning to have the school department present?
No, but here's what happened. The school committee, several years ago, the town meeting authorized the town to enter into joint administrative functions with the school committee. The school committee has to have a separate vote of their own to enter into a joint administrative function with the town. They were supposed to do that last Thursday, and we all know what happened last Thursday, so the meeting got canceled. And so we should defer on this until the school committee has a chance to meet and, because they may in fact approve it, but they also might change some of this, even though it is a draft. I think we'd be getting out ahead of ourselves until the school committee.
Sure.
Acts.
Okay.
We
Let's pass over this. Yeah, I mean, if you have any questions.
So if I'm reading this right, this is basically for the maintenance, will still be, all these buildings will be carrying on with their regular custodial duties
That's
as,
correct.
as is, okay.
That's kind of what has held this back all these years.
Oh,
Everybody, we've been very satisfied with our custodial contracts, and they wanted to hire extra custodians to cover us, and would actually have cost us more.
so can I ask, by what you're saying about entering into it, was that one of the, are you referring to the townwide question or a town meeting thing? I'm just not.
It was
I'm
a
not-
town meeting vote in 2011 or 2012.
Okay, 'cause I remember there was a question that was on the ballot at once when we had an override for a, not an override, but
Debt
what do we
exclusion.
call
Elm
it?
Street, right.
Bond.
No, it was to do with the school, and then we'd put two questions.
Right.
Stuff.
So it's not to do with that particular one, okay.
No,
Okay.
There's no time limit on it.
no, those were separate
Yeah.
overrides.
Well, one of them really, we didn't count because we didn't choose to go that way, so I didn't know if that's what you were referring
Right,
to.
no, no, this was.
I'm just not, I'm, usually the memory's pretty good, I'm not really remembering it, but that's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
I mean, I
town
remember a lot of
meeting did
discussion.
Authorize the Board of Selectmen to do a joint
Yeah,
venture with the school committee, but the
Okay.
school committee has their own vote.
Can I make a suggestion on this, Mike?
Sure.
If this comes up like this again for something that's that far back, just scan the vote and throw it up on the system so we can see it.
Okay.
Then it makes it real easy to explain. Say, hey, back then, boom, boom, done. You know? So,
So, now, I know this is just a draft for the school committee, but has there been any discussion about who they just gonna make someone the director of building and grounds? Do we know who that is?
They already have one.
Oh, Mike.
It's Mike Anderson.
Yeah. All right. Someone, I talked to me in IT.
no, it states right in here that according to this, they're getting an HVAC,
Right.
if I read it right, yeah,
Right, they'll hire an HVAC guy.
yeah.
And Mike would just probably oversee the whole operation.
And we'll,
Sure.
basically, that will be coming out of our budget, not the school committee budget, and that's the agreement.
Yes. As it stands
Oh, Mr. Chair, we
tonight.
just,
Oh, really?
On the budget?
no,
So we won't split that cost?
Committee for shared.
We're
Custodial.
getting
We're
the
gonna
use
ask
of their
the school
full-time
committee to review it
electrician
first, 'cause
and
it's just a
3
draft, and they haven't
maintenance
talked
men.
about it, so. But yes, we'll be on the budget next.
Well, yeah, and, but we'll be contributing. They don't have an HVAC person on staff, and this will allow them to round out the staff and have everybody they need.
So then the maintenance of all these buildings here will fall under the responsibility of the town and not the school district?
No, the other way around.
Okay. Okay, but the cost associated with it, who's paying for this?
Well,
I mean, we all are.
the school is already paying for a licensed electrician, 3 maintenance workers, and a maintenance supervisor. So we're getting 5 for 1.
Oh, no, I understand that. But as far as the monies for those, so that's all within the school department budget?
Those 5 people
Right.
are already being paid.
Oh, no, right.
But we'll get the use of them now.
If this thing is ratified by both the school committee and the board of selectmen, then the funds for this are coming from where? The school department or from the town? I mean, all town.
We will pay the school department, what's the dollar figure, 85 or 75?
Oh, 75,000 for the first year?
75,000 as our contribution to the maintenance department staff,
Okay,
with which they will use that 75,000 to hire a
Right.
HVAC
okay.
certified technician.
Right.
But it'll
Okay.
still be a school employee.
Who will maintain a town hall, public library, public safety buildings, highway department office, and the schools,
Correct.
under the same dollar amounts. That, I mean, school department handle that, we just pay for the, I just wanna be sure, that we just pay for the stipend for the overseer, and up to $75,000 the first year for the HVAC guy.
Yeah. It's still gonna go into their
Mm.
payroll
Mm-hmm.
pool,
But we're making that contribution of 75,000 plus whatever that stipend
with
is.
which they will,
Right.
they have
Okay,
promised to hire a certified
Yep.
licensed HVAC
Yep.
technician.
yeah, I just wanted to be clear on where the monies were divvied up. So,
They're just gonna send us a bill for $75,000.
We'll tell them it's in the mail.
So, we weren't gonna discuss it, but we did.
Oh,
And once the school committee approves it, then I'll bring it
Mhm.
back at our next meeting.
So basically, they have to approve it first, and then they'll come back here for our
Yes.
approval.
Yeah,
Okay.
you had to step out. They were set to meet last Thursday to discuss this, and they didn't have the meeting.
Yeah, okay.
They were supposed to meet tomorrow night, and I don't think that's happening.
Good timing.
Yeah, they already canceled that.
Okay.
okay.
All right, so we're on to the budget, Mike?
Yeah, and this is almost an identical situation. The school committee was also supposed to approve their budget last Thursday, so that didn't happen. What I did do, based on the numbers Carol gave me, I did plug her draft numbers into the budget. There's, at this point, they're subject to change by the school committee. And they're also subject to change by the Finance Advisory Committee too. So I did adjust the budget for the 2% increase in the health insurance. I still don't have anything else. The only other number that I have pegged is the number for pensions. That's, but all the other insurances, like workers' comp, unemployment, life, dental, and property and liability are still unknown at this time. They're usually the last to come in. I get them like in the beginning of April if I'm lucky. Well, they usually come in at the beginning of April. They have to, otherwise we miss the vote and the boat. There were changes in the debt service I had to make. We're now looking at probably not getting our SBA approval until September. So we're gonna have to renew bans in July instead of going out to bond in July. So that's gonna increase our debt service for interest. That's not good, but there's nothing we can do about it.
What's the holdup?
MSBA audit, we're stuck in a queue and they're going by who got there first. So, I've been in constant contact with our OPM, municipal, and he's on them all the time, and they just keep pushing them off. They have $500,000 of our dollars, and we need that to buy down the bond. Otherwise, we have to, we don't want to over bond by $500,000.
Yeah.
So, we did take, I don't know if I mentioned this the last time we met.
Can I ask a question to that?
Sure.
What do you mean by over bond? I mean, is that what's holding us up from putting this out to bond? You're afraid that we're gonna go over?
No, we
Total
need,
thing?
Bond council won't certify
we
it.
need that $500,000.
I guess what I'm getting to, we had an idea what it was gonna cost. I've probably been down this road again, but take me back. Why didn't we just borrow all the money way back in the first place?
Because we didn't know how much we were gonna end up spending.
Plus, you pay the bills out in cycles. You don't borrow all the money day one. First of all, they're not gonna allow you. Yeah, they're not gonna allow you to do it. It's just not gonna happen. You have to have, right? The bond council is gonna say you don't have a fixed number. You
Yeah.
can't just, you can't,
Interest rates keep going up. We keep paying whatever we pay for these bands.
those are the rules. That's the problem.
Certainly is frustrating that MSBA is so slow.
Yeah. Those are the rules. I mean,
I wonder if there's
That's the
any
way it works.
legislative assistance.
I'm writing a note.
I mean, if we borrowed the money and held it for 3 years, we would have been upside down on that. It would have cost us even more. So if we borrowed hypothetically $20 million, the day we put the shovel in the ground, the money would have just been sitting there earning probably 10 basis points. We would have been paying probably 2.5% to 3% at the time.
Yes.
It's just a waste of money.
Yeah, the bands,
However,
the
could've
bands we
Yeah,
pay,
but you
pay
can't
like,
invest in anything that's even going to bring you back what the rate is. It's always going to be
we're
underwater.
paying less than 1% interest for the band.
Yeah, the band's short term.
It's about 0.5% maybe. The other change, and I know I talked to the FinCom about it, but we got our Whittier assessment, and unfortunately, that went up by $118,000 over last year. We got 5 new students. The good news is Essex Tech did not go up, so, but that was,
That 5 students takes 5 out of our
doesn't work
district.
that way.
No,
They're still in our district, but yeah, it takes them out of the school, but they're not gonna, they're new students coming in.
but I guess is there a possibility that they bring in students out of the district to fill those 5 places? 'Cause typically, there's kind of has been, I thought in the past, a bit of a waiting list of, what do we call that when we?
School choice.
School choice. I don't think they have any other openings. They're not taking any,
I guess that's
I
a
don't
question
think they're
for there.
taking any new
I would
choice
kinda think if there
students.
was 5 transferring from here to Whittier, that might open up 5. But maybe I'm wrong.
no, they're not, they're freshmen. They're coming in.
Mike, is the school committee, did they speak about, ending school choice by any chance?
We're meeting with them on Wednesday at the FinCom. I haven't heard one way or the other.
In terms of taking students in, I mean, because, there were, there was some discussion, about like concern on that. And I'm wondering if that's why, do you know if they,
No, that has nothing to do
nothing to
with,
do with that?
with that. It's unrelated. It doesn't
Okay.
even show up in their budget.
Okay,
Mr. Chair,
yes, sir.
I know that in the past, the school committee and the school department have talked about choice and should they keep it, shouldn't they keep it, and all this. It seems to be a very ongoing and fluid discussion, but nothing is ever, it's always been that they've kept choice.
Yeah, it's stated at a discussion level. Well, we won't get into it, but like I said, I just wanted to make sure that wasn't the case, because there was discussion recently about that. Okay?
So overall, based on the preliminary school budget and those changes that I just mentioned, the budget sits right now at 165,351 in deficit. So the FinCom has their work cut out for them. Unless some of those other insurances, which total about $500,000, I do have anticipated increases. If those anticipated increases don't come true, then, that 165 will shrink somewhat.
Where are we with free cash, Mike?
As far as, you mean snow and ice? Before this last storm, we were at 153,000.
Okay.
So we're still, but that was a lengthy storm over the weekend, as you know. They were out straight for 3-4 days. They were working Saturdays and Sundays, so
Yeah.
that's a OT. That's gonna be a very expensive storm.
Was there a state of emergency on that, Mike? So we get some money back from the state?
Yeah, if they deem it a national emergency, and, we'll get the money next fiscal year at the
At least we'll get
earliest.
something back though.
Yeah.
Probably do it for this one too. You gotta
Yeah, it'd be nice if, sometimes they combine the two of them too, but, we'll have to wait and see. Peter did ask me one thing to mention. He was gonna bring it up himself, cause we had a discussion about it in my office today. When we do apply for FEMA, it's very rare, if ever, that the Light department applies with us.
Okay, they apply on their own?
No, they don't apply.
Really?
So Peter wanted you to know that.
I mean, we should be asking the light commissioners why,
Yeah.
you know, definitely should be making that inquiry.
Their numbers get aggregated with ours to get us up to get over the bar.
Okay. So about 165, Mike, is that what you said?
153. Oh, what?
No, I mean, what, the deficit?
165. Oh, the snow and ice deficit is 153.
No, that I know.
The budget is 165.
Right. Okay. FinCom meets when?
Wednesday. And
This Wednesday.
Yeah, they're meeting, the whole meeting is to meet with the school.
Meeting with the school.
Mm-hmm.
How much is the school's budget increase from last year?
It's about 5% overall, I think.
About 5%.
I can tell you exactly, hold on. Education, public schools. 4.4%. $642,000 increase.
Yep.
But that's not their final, that's preliminary number right now. It's subject to change.
Meaning
The-
increase.
Meaning the school board hasn't voted on that number yet.
Yeah.
School committee hasn't voted on the number.
Okay. All right. Any questions before we move on? Okay. Good times.
And that's all I have on the budget.
Yep. All right, you want to go to the warrants?
Sure. The special town meeting warrant had, and once again, I don't think we've met since we,
A month ago.
we talked to, we had a meeting up at the middle high school. Did I inform you of that meeting? It was about 2 weeks ago. It might have been just after our last meeting. Carol, myself, Chief Cudmore, Chief Mitchell. Were you there, Scott? Scott was in attendance. We were talking about what we could do to harden the school, to make it more safe. And Carol and Mike Anderson came up with a design to put a vestibule into where you enter now and before you get into the auditorium and the cafeteria and the offices on the left. They were going to put a glass enclosure so people couldn't go into the school. They'd be in this glass enclosure. They'd have to go to the desk, the front desk, which is also going to be enclosed in glass. So if anybody wants to enter the school, they have to interact with a staff person. Carol was even talking about a data port where you put your ID in, and it gives you, well, number one, checks to see if you're that person, and number two, it can tell you, it's like a mini Corey check.
Okay.
So they're still working, and they're gonna do all the work themselves, the staff, school staff. I don't have a final number on it. Right now, we're just putting a holding figure in there for
Guesstimate.
$50,000. The initial estimate is much lower than that. I think the first go-around was about 20,000, but if they're gonna be using other high-tech identification, no one has any idea how much that costs, but I think 50,000 would do the trick.
Yeah, and if I can elaborate, Mike, so, I also had a discussion with Chief Cudmore, and I've seen that, that number, and it's a little less than 20. It's actually about 18. So as we see 50 here, that was the initial number, but it didn't include some of the things that you've mentioned, so that's kind of a starting number.
Yeah.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, sir.
So, what you're talking about is not a vestibule between the exterior door and then the next door into the,
The interior.
so you're going past once you're in all the doors,
Yeah.
then having vestibules
Yes.
right there.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
And that's the only other item we're looking at the special town meeting at this point in time.
So let me clarify, so that people know what I'm talking about when I go right there. That's the one that you have to go through to get up to the corridor to get into the office, and then the other one would be to proceed for the area for the cafeteria and the auditorium, right? So there'd be two of them?
It would be one large one,
Oh, okay,
yeah.
yeah, all right, great.
So Mike, two things. When is that number going to be finalized? And number two, are we looking to do this before the end of the school year or during the summer? Or?
Well, that's why we'd want to do it with the special town meeting, so they could start working on it right away. Otherwise, they'd have to wait till July to start.
Okay. All right.
So, on the annual town meeting warrant, there's an addition, page 4 of 9. You'll see a highlighted article. If we intend to establish a sales tax on non-medical marijuana, we have to adopt this warrant article to allow us to charge 3% sales tax. So that's new from the last version you received.
We have to do it now,
No,
or is it something we can adopt later, or?
yeah, well, you haven't adopted any of these yet. We'll get them into final form, because nobody's even discussed the money warrant articles. The FinCom will take those up probably at their next meeting after this week.
Yeah.
I have a question.
Go ahead, Gary.
Okay, and it's to do with this. I had called Mike about this, I think, last week or the week before. And I also was questioning whether we need a warrant article, okay, about the language with to the bylaw of limiting the establishments. And Mike thought that was gonna fall under the zoning or bylaw.
That's right.
But under what I've got that KP gave us back in August of last year, at that time, they were suggesting, that they recommend that the municipally consider adopting both a general and a zoning bylaw or ordinance to prohibit or limit recreational marijuana establishments. So you may wanna also reach out, cause we're not, I get the feeling we're not closing this tonight, because we're waiting for a few more budgetary things.
Right.
So maybe you wanna see if they're still recommending that, and if they've maybe got a language as to that.
Yeah, I was on the impression that it was all in,
Well, like I say, maybe they
Planning.
changed it. This was August of last
Yeah.
year, but, this was what they were recommending last year,
yeah,
so.
a lot
I
of
think if I could,
change.
Mr. Chair, I think it's probably important for the public to know, I believe that the planning board is in process right now of creating that, and I believe they need two
Public hearings.
public hearings for that, so I think that's an opportunity, probably to
Yeah,
ask
but I
those
mean,
types of
well, I
questions.
would think that the general probably falls on this board, but I'm not positive. That's why I'm saying.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, because we may need to, I don't know, if we'll need to do that.
I don't know. I know that John Cashel has worked on language for recreational cannabis that, you know, that he's presenting or has presented to the planning board.
Because I kind of felt that they work more towards the zoning end of it, and that it would be more our responsibility
Yeah.
to work towards how many establishments
Get you,
are gonna be allowed.
I get you.
Well, I know that he was working with John Eichman on that.
And I think, well, I think we need clarification on that going forward.
I'll talk to John tomorrow, and both Johns.
Yeah.
Mike, didn't the planning board say that they wanted to, you know, have a discussion with us about that?
I don't recall, one way or the other. I'll have to have a conversation with John on the whole process.
Yeah. If you would, because I believe they had mentioned that, and, you know, I told them they could, you know, certainly, you know, join us in a meeting, you know, and this was, you know, maybe a couple of months ago, because some felt that, you know, maybe more than one was warranted, so, if you could ask them that, that'd be great.
I'll do that. So, and just a comment, Gary, as far as the petition warrant articles, the warrant is closed. You established that time frame back in
Okay.
January,
Okay.
as of February
We said
26th.
to open it and close it, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we can reopen it to,
Yeah, I mean, it's
Well, yeah,
really
last-
just a formality.
last
You-
year, we added a few things and you said we didn't have to do that like in the past.
Right.
Nobody
You
came in
can,
and
you can
threw the
add,
cuffs on us and.
you can add something up there until it's, until it's posted.
Okay.
Those are the only, changes since the last time we talked about it. We'll get this in proper form and language, by the next meeting, and then once you have solidified the warrant, then we send it to K&P for, the, language for the motions. Because if you're not gonna put something on there, we don't want to pay them to do language for motions. That's all I have for you.
Is there a change to this paragraph on the quorum, Mike?
No, it's, not that I'm aware of. There's two options. One's to
Just to get
eliminate it
highlighted, so-
altogether,
Yeah.
and one's just to,
Since you brought that up, could I mention something there, Mr. Chair?
Sure.
Again, it says it was put under there, under the Board of Selectmen, yet I remember no discussion.
On the quorum?
Yep.
Yeah, we had some discussion on that. It
When did we do it?
was not, it was one of the earlier meetings, I'm going back from memory, we talked about the difficulty of getting people to show up. and that we were looking at adjusting that. We talked about that
At our meetings?
at one of these meetings. Yeah, I'm not just making that up.
No, we did talk about it, I don't remember.
I think
I don't
that-
remember putting on our,
No, we didn't come to any resolution, but we did talk about it. It was on the warrant. We were aware it was on the warrant. It's been
Well,
on there
my
for a
memory
while.
might, we may have had discussion at this fall town meeting at the close of our meeting that we were having there. But I mean, I never remember when specifically talking about the warrant, discussing it and moving it here. So at some
Yeah.
point, I hope that we have some discussion on that.
It's been on there though since the
20
first printing, right?
25
It's been on there
people?
since
I
we've
never
had this for
remember
what? This is
No,
the
I
third or
don't
fourth.
I don't believe it was on the first printing.
I don't think it was on the first one,
Second one?
but yeah, it's been
Okay.
there for a while.
It's been there for a
I think this is
while.
only the second one that we've had, so.
I mean, do we want
I don't think it, all of these are by the selectmen. Nothing gets on here without the selectmen. I don't know why legal put that there. It's just out of habit, I guess.
Yeah, I don't think we had a formal discussion
I
about
don't
putting it on the
It
warrant.
doesn't mean
Just showed up here.
anything.
Okay, but I don't know if we came up with an SOP on this, but in the past, we sort of agreed that when things went on here, there would be something next to them so that we would know who to talk to or who presented it. Matter of fact, I brought that up, I think at the last one, when there was a thing on there about the town clerk and the highway surveyor, if you remember. And I said then that we typically put where this came from next to it. So now if this was a member of the Board of Selectmen that said, I want it on there, fine. Put that person's name to it. If it's yours, fine, put the name there, Mike. But if it comes from the planning board, I mean, we pretty much know the ones that come from other places. So,
I agree, it would be helpful. I think, too.
Regarding the town clerk, Gary just mentioned that.
we have,
How are we handling that?
It's an election.
But,
Right, I mean, it's-
no, you have to appoint somebody to fill out the remainder of
remainder,
the
right?
term.
Oh, she's not up in May?
no,
Oh, I thought
She's
you.
resigning no, she's
2000.
resigning.
Yeah, that's the thing, her
In August. Midterm.
Okay.
So do we have, I mean, how we gonna go about that? I mean, do we have any candidates?
We haven't,
Should we put something out on website, social media? Yes, no?
well, you might wanna determine whether you want to make it elective or appointive. That's gonna make a lot of difference with who applies.
All right, maybe that's a discussion, we'll have to have.
I do think we do. I went down and talked with Jan for a little bit today, and, you know, she mentioned there's some procedures about if we put that on there, that then it's gotta also be voted on.
You would need two town meetings.
Yeah. And it's gotta be at, the vote needs to be at a regular annual town meeting, so it possibly couldn't be on there until when, 19, or would it be even later than that? Because I thought she said there was a difference of 60 days, so you'd have to have it like on the fall town meeting, maybe for the next annual election in 19?
I have a legal opinion.
Okay.
I don't have it with me
Okay.
tonight as to the procedure.
So we'll have discussion on that. Yeah, you know, for me, the board knows this is a tough one. I like to see
Pros and cons to both.
well, I like to see a lot of our people elected, but I don't think anyone's ran against her in years, and so does that
Yeah.
just show that, you know, there's really no interest in it anymore, and we have to go down the route of what's on here? I mean, I try to be open-minded to these things, even though sometimes you disagree with it. So,
Well, I mean, has there been any discussion with Peter on the highway surveyor? Have you talked to him about that? He brought it up to you?
No.
It's probably something else we need to discuss,
Mm-hmm.
you know, before the meeting. Okay. So obviously some, you know, a couple of things we have to discuss, maybe on the, you guys wanna discuss it on the next agenda?
Probably be good.
Yeah, probably should.
All right, Mike, why don't we add those to the next agenda?
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Both positions.
yep. Well, in the meantime, for the highway surveyor, maybe have a discussion, with Peter first. So, Mike, anything more?
No.
Just so, what's going on with the house next door? Is that just kind of just sitting there lingering?
Well,
Wonderful. He probably lost his power too, but I know.
I don't have money to take it down.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think our best bet is either get some money from the reserve fund from the FinCom,
Yep.
or put a warrant article on a special town meeting to raise and appropriate the additional funds.
How much are we at with that?
I think I need about 10 grand
10?
More or 10
more,
total?
More.
Yeah, what's the total number?
It's around
32?
15.
Oh, 15?
Peter worked out a deal.
Okay.
They'll do a lot of the hauling.
Can we ask FinCom to take a look at that for us at their meeting?
Yeah, you know, we haven't hit the reserve fund. Well, the last meeting we had, we took about, police department needed about 15,000 in their additional in their, that they didn't have budgeted. So there's still lots of money in the reserve fund.
If not, can we at least squeeze out some free cash? 15, another 10,000?
Well, that's what I was talking about for special town meeting, yeah.
Yeah.
Let's
All
see
right,
how
we
many- see how
could
many
do it till-
storms we have first.
Yeah, but we could do it next week with a reserve fund transfer, right? They can just transfer it from there. We can, and then you can have the
Yeah.
money next week if you wanted
Well,
to.
I need to find a line item. I don't have a demolition line
Selectmen's
item
expense.
now. But I might be able to find it in, you know, in the highway budget.
So I don't want to open a can of worms, Mr. Chairman, but here's my next question is, have we received the money from Healthy Farms? When is our first payment due from Healthy Farms?
Will be 30 days after their first year anniversary.
Which is?
Well, I think, well, when do they open? The
May
8th of May?
1st.
Okay.
First, so we should
So
see
June
something
1st.
at the beginning of June.
So June 1st, under the purview of the Selectmen, we could appropriate $15,000 to have that house taken down.
That's not a slush fund.
I didn't want to open a can of worms.
Yeah,
I
I
just
know.
want you to think about it.
Yeah.
It says, as the Selectmen may deem fit.
Right, but the state has their fingers in how we can use it.
No, they don't.
Yeah, they do.
No, I mean, that's a discuss, let's put that on, Mr. Chairman. Next
Fine,
meeting,
sure.
we need to talk about it.
Sure.
Because that's, to me, that's what that money should be used for, is capital things that we can't
Only
afford to
waited a
do.
year to discuss that.
Anyway.
Mr. Surface.
All right. Appointments and approvals. Request for reappointment. What do we got? So we got inspector of buildings, gas plumbing inspector, alternate gas plumbing inspector, wire inspector. Okay. Someone make a motion? Can we do all these? Do we have to do them individual?
No, you could list them all at once.
Okay.
Some of these
My
are-
machine's down, so.
Someone want to do it? Doug, can you do it?
Okay, let me get my glasses on. I'm just gonna read them the way I have them, in order.
Vacations and,
Mr. Chairman, I move that we reappoint Les Godin to the position of building inspector, zoning enforcement officer. Term to expire, are these one-year terms, Janet?
Yes, they're all March 31st, 2019.
To expire March 31st,
2019.
2019.
Second.
I was
I
gonna,
guess he's gonna
I'm
do
gonna
it.
We can do them all?
Yep.
yeah.
Okay.
I move that we reappoint Glenn Closey as the alternate building inspector. Term to expire March 31st, 2019. I move to consider Mark Unger for reappointment to the position of electrical inspector, inspector of wires, term to end March 13, 2019. I move that the board reappoint Carl Maglio as the alternate electrical inspector with a term to end March 31st, 2019. I respectfully request, here. We request that, that the board reappoint William Giancopoulos to the position of plumbing and gas inspector. His term is to expire March 31st, 2019. I move that the board reappoint Stan, how do you say this name? Kulask,
Who's that?
as the alternate plumbing inspector, term to expire March 31st, 2019. Now we can do a second.
Second.
Okay. We have the motion and a second, discussion from the board. Anybody? No? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Gary.
I've been patient,
I know you have.
and before someone makes a motion to adjourn,
Yep. I'll get to you. Yeah, we have one last one. Yeah, what was that say? MPO.
Merrimack Valley Planning, Metropolitan Planning Organization.
with the rail trail.
Sub-Region 3 representative for the town of Georgetown.
Mike can't make a motion.
I know, I'm just.
No, I can't first. I'll make the motion. So moved.
I can do it.
Second,
Yeah, I'll make motion that we, elect John Cashel to the Merrimack Valley Municipal Planning Office, is that what we said? MPO Sub-Region 3 for a term to expire on June 30th, 2018.
Second.
Okay, motion and a second. Further discussion? Okay, all those in favor? Aye.
Gary, we got bypassed on that, Gary, because we already had done it. He just did it again. But that's all right. It's getting late. I said I'd make the motion.
All right, so we have pretty much finished our agenda. All right, Gary, what do you have to say?
well, again tonight, earlier, we referred to the wheat that I mentioned and I brought up. And as I stated, we've a memo here that we received from KP Law. And it discusses about media exchanges that could result in a written exchange between a quorum and members and being in violation of open meeting law.
Has everybody read that?
Yes.
And
Have you read it?
I am afraid in some ways, okay, that we've stepped out of bounds with what's been brought before this board. You know, and I'm reading from some notes here, okay, so, and I know that when there was discussion on one-use bags, which was as a placeholder on the warrant, the chair brought up several times and referred to we, and I asked about that, and the answer was something to, well, we did a survey on the media. Okay, I believe the tobacco regulations discussion and votes, I brought up a matter of concern to the we. So I'm in fear that those votes may be in violation of our procedures, our policies and regulations manual, and of state open meeting law. And so I'd like at some point to come to some resolution over this.
All right, let me stop
You
you
know,
there. There was no survey taken.
Well,
Again, it's
okay,
It's basically just feedback that we saw, and that's
Hold
it.
on. Can
listen,
I just make a point? Mr. Chair?
I
So-
did not, oh, wait a minute, let me stand up here.
If there's
Okay,
any-
I did not, okay?
Gary, he
I would
just-
ask that question.
Hold on, I
Go
gave
to
him,
the
I gave him the
chair.
floor, because he wants to address.
You
what
did
just said.
not, I did
Gary,
not give
Gary,
up the
I
floor.
have the meeting.
I have
He is
the floor.
addressing your point. Sit down.
I will not.
Sit down, he has the floor.
Boy, oh boy.
Yeah, boy, oh boy.
Go ahead.
All
Go
I
ahead,
was gonna say is that if there's any complaint or concern about meeting law violation, I don't think that we discuss it as selectmen. There's a procedure for that, right? And it's to go to the Attorney General and to make a complaint.
No, the procedure is that we bring it up. Would be better if I brought it up with the chair first, but I can also bring it up here. And if you would care to, you and I could talk to it and try to come to some resolution, okay?
So, are you asking if we should?
But I
could
wasn't
decide-
quite
yeah.
finished
No,
with
go
where
ahead.
I was going.
Go ahead, I just.
You made his
Okay.
point? Go ahead.
All right. Bear with me.
You want to stand up?
Don't think I need to if you're
Okay.
gonna let me finish,
Want to make sure.
okay?
Let me stand up.
I'd like to go to relations, okay? And this would have helped with earlier tonight, okay? This is our relations with the public and with other boards and committees, I believe, in our procedures that we adopted last year. And it states, persons who will be affected by proposed discussion and/or action will be notified by the administrative assistant of the date and time of the meeting at which the matter will be discussed or acted upon by the board. The next one, it states, if the board is considering matters of citizen concern at regular meetings, the public will be allowed to ask questions or make statements relative to the matter under the consideration at the discretion of the chairman or upon request of any member of the board. Okay, now, that, if we'd follow these procedures, and this is also in there sort of, again, under, in another section, that the administrative assistant is to reach out, and there's nothing against Janet, or against really anybody. We've adopted these things last year, and I think that we put them aside and have failed to look at it. And sometimes I feel that some of this could be settled if, you know, if at least I'd known that that board had been notified. I mean, that's only proper to do that, to discuss what we did here earlier without doing it. And that's where I'm going with, I believe, that with the one-use trash bags, with the tobacco regulations, it would be proper to have reached out to people in town who have trash bags and to people that are selling tobacco. Now, and I know that
The plastic bag is on the next agenda.
at time, we have, you know, I brought up before a little bit about this, and you said, well, it's on the, it's published on our agenda. But that's really not the meaning of what's here in our procedures. So, I mean, I thank you for hearing me on that, but now there's one more thing where I'd like to finish, okay? And you may not like this, but under page 9 and under the procedures, okay? D, citizen petition at Board of Selectmen meetings. Unless directly involved with an agenda item, citizens may only participate at a regular board meeting at the discretion of the chair or upon request of any member of the board. So we've had someone sitting in our audience all night, and I am requesting that we hear them.
Can we back up, Mr. Chairman? Because I can add a little color to what Gary was saying. I think there's a little bit of a generation gap stuff going on where the way we communicate versus the way some of you guys communicate is a little bit different. And I think that's where some of the frustration might be, is when, you know, the younger crowd, meaning you younger guys that use Facebook a lot, communicate with people that way, whereas Gary and I, and maybe Doug, and I won't lump everybody together, but I will, hear more from constituents, grabbing us and saying, hey, I was at the recycle bin the other day, the recycle place the other morning, and somebody grabbed me about things, and so that's how, kind of the older people kind of communicate rather than putting everything out on Facebook. But yet, your group's kind of, I see it. I see it. I made the mistake of posting one thing I'll never post again in my entire life. I'll never do it ever again. So I think there's a little bit of a gap. And I think that we, as a board, have to be a little bit more careful about what public opinion is by just hearing from constituents. And no matter what way we hear constituents, whether it's, we may hear from 3 people on a particular subject, whereas Facebook, it may be the same 20 people commenting over and over and over and over and just won't let things go. Because one person says something, then it just leads to, oh, well, that's what you mean, and it goes to it. So the string gets like this. Whereas Gary and I and Doug may have a conversation with somebody, they may blow their top, and then it's done. There's no more about, well, if you're thinking that, then, we're on to another subject, and it just keeps going on and on and on. So a couple of things that I'll say is I think we, as a board, need to be careful of what really public opinion is. If there was really that much of a public outcry about a vape store opening up in town, there would have been 15, 20 people at least sitting in that crowd, okay? Nobody was here to even say anything. Nobody's been here to say anything about the plastic bags. People are at home watching. If they're that involved about plastic bags, they would be here. People post on Facebook, and again, I'm not knocking those people, that they have their right and they voice their opinion. But sometimes it just keeps going on and on and on. The process is, come here and tell us. Come to a meeting. Now, I'm going to be a little critical of the board, and if you think I'm crazy, tell me. On the moving the age of smoking from tobacco products from 18 to 21 may have given the appearance that we were singling out one business, which in the case public opinion, it appears one could draw a conclusion that we were doing that just because of one business. I made the motion. I didn't do that because of one business. I did that because I felt it was the right thing to do. However, I think the mistake that we made there, if there was a mistake in procedure, is that before we took a vote, which was a non-binding vote to suggest to the health department, the Board of Health, that we strongly support moving the age up. Maybe this board should have said at our next meeting, before we send that vote, we're going to have anybody that wants to come and voice their opinion, come voice their opinion. Maybe we jumped the gun a little bit on that. Now, one could say, you know what, that's not our vote anyway. We have no jurisdiction. All we're doing is sending over what we wanna, what we want. Maybe we should have called for a public hearing and see who showed up. No, let's apply that to the plastic bag thing, right? So the plastic bag thing just came out kind of out of nowhere because I think you guys, we in the room, is looking at what's going on and has more of a, I think more of a sense of, hey, all these other cities and towns are doing this stuff, so we should bring it to our board too. I mean, the plastic bag ban is not anything new. We're not the first blazing community that's going to go for the plastic ban thing. And secondly, as far as the smoking goes, I was at the Georgetown Mobile, and the clerk there said to me, oh yeah, because I asked her about it. She said, oh yeah, all the young kids come here, because all the surrounding towns, cities and towns are 21. She said, we sell more cigarettes to kids 18 than probably anybody around. So right there, that's when it went off in my head and said, well, why are we the only ones doing this? And kids are coming from all over, surrounding areas. Now, I may be exaggerating a little bit, but that's what she told me. So I think for this plastic bag thing, we should apply the principle of, hey, look, we think this is a good idea. We put it on the warrant. I don't think there's any hurt anything if at our 26th meeting, we post a public hearing about plastic bags. Let's see who shows up. Hopefully everybody that's chiming in on Facebook will show up and support it and tell us why we should do it. Or people are going to sit here in the crowd and say no. I think there's a little bit of danger of just looking at one aspect of communication. And again, I'm not knocking the Facebook people. I'm not.
And I don't mean to.
Right. I'm not at all, because I like Facebook. I'm on it. But sometimes face-to-face communication is a little bit better. You can kind of get you can close an issue and close it, and that's where people stand. I think that sometimes the Facebook, it just keeps going on and on and on. And it's a multiple crowd, I get it. It's a multi-crowd thing. So, there is I think there's a little bit of generation gap here going on, a little bit. I think you guys, the we in the room and everybody, is bringing good ideas to the table. I think these are all great ideas to talk about, the smoking thing, moving the age limit up on tobacco products, looking at the plastic bag thing, whatever it is, stopping or not allowing any another dispensary for non-medical marijuana. These are all good ideas. I think we just have to vet things a little bit more, and I think that's where Gary's going with his particular issue is, let's put it out there for
Yeah.
public opinion and let people come in. If they're really that concerned, come on in.
The plastic bag thing, just so everyone knows, is on the agenda for the 26th.
Okay.
If I
But
could
did we
just
post
ask
the public
your
hearing, though?
point?
Can we post the public hearing?
It's gonna happen.
Okay,
Yeah.
good. All right, good.
If I could, so what I think I'm hearing you say is that there should be, or before we discuss something, we should be able to quantify how many people we either spoke to or we heard from in any type of median.
Right.
Which, is that right? If you talk to 3 people and you come here and say, I spoke to X, I spoke to we decided, I don't think that anyone on this board is gonna question whether you had 3 people tell you about it or you had 100 people tell you about it. I think that that's the same thing should apply no matter
Right.
how you hear, right?
Right.
It's your constituents. You know who
Right.
voted for you. When they have concerns, you bring those concerns
Right.
out there.
Right. And I think if it's a global issue, in other words, if it's an issue about taking the building down, we don't have to have a public hearing. That's in our purview. But I think when it
Well, to
affects the whole
Gary's
town,
point,
I
he
think it's
said
important.
we. So if you
If
come up
I
and you
could-
bring something to us,
If
I don't remember us ever saying to you, who is this we? How many people have you spoken to that you think that this is an important issue to bring up? We don't, because we all know that we're trying to help the town and we're hearing from townspeople.
If I could answer
Go
that
ahead.
at
Sure.
this time, Mr. Chair?
Sure.
Okay. My concern after seeing this, and this is what I was hoping, and when I mentioned the resolution, and Dave sort of mentioned some of it, is that we could move these things forward, okay? And somebody could object to it. The AG's office might throw it out because we've been in some violation. So I'd like to go through procedures such as what David just brought up here. That was the resolution that I was looking for.
Yeah.
So that if something does go forward, it can't get challenged.
Well-
That's been part of my fear. I mean, yes, I did bring up
Fine.
that, and I brought that up several times, it's even minuted, that I bring up who's the we, and it gets explained, but there is a fear that, and as you said,
Yeah.
I'm surprised at where I'm hearing this. People, this is the one thing, I don't get a lot of calls at home, okay? Maybe it's all email now. But this is one thing that I have got people of all different age groups addressing me. I had a guy last week say to me, David might remember this, people sometimes remember the division. Boards of our sort, towns of our sort always have some division. And someone said to me, it used to be that they said the division was the old comers and the newcomers, the old timers. Now it seems like the division is the social media and the other side. And so that's what I'm trying to address. And what I'm trying to say is, after reading this, I just want to go down the proper
Right.
roads.
I see.
And I don't
things.
mean to sandbag anybody,
No,
but I
that's
did.
fine.
But
But Gary, though, I see those as 2 separate issues. The issue that you're talking about here is that you're in fear of a vote being invalidated, right? Well,
And
that could happen regardless of how many policies you have. The other issue that you're talking about is people being in violation of open meeting law, which means that they're deliberating in a quorum about a particular issue. That we cannot control on this board. If it's going to happen and people are gonna complain about it, or they're gonna, complain to the AG's office, that's the avenue that they take, but those are 2 completely separate issues in my mind. If you want us to come to a consensus whether we want to talk about something in a meeting, that's one issue. If you're concerned that it's gonna be invalid because of open meeting laws, completely separate issue. I
That's
don't
what
think
I'm
that a
saying,
policy
and
can
I
do
would
it.
like to discuss that, and if we could
All
come
right,
to some
well,
resolution.
I heard the two
And I am
combined,
suggesting to this board that perhaps you and I talked about it and try to come to a resolution of what I'm putting forward. But let's remember, I also put forward, and I mean, maybe we could go over some of these procedures, which, as I said, I think might help with some of my, call it anxieties or passion on this board. But I mean, when what went on here tonight with this, and, okay, you talked to perhaps one member of the water department. Out of respect, we owe it to contact them. At least that's the way I see it. And that, I see, is part of our procedures. And we need to follow that, okay?
Can I address two things, Mr. Chairman?
Sure.
So on the water department thing, Gary, I think we, as a board, or maybe you and I, but initially was, well, why are they even here? Because this is not our purview. But now that as he started talking, all they were there was to say, look, this is a service that's available. We're not saying that we were going to hire him, and throw out the water commissioners. It was just, a process by where Mike, because we had talked about this. Well, Mike had mentioned it maybe one meeting ago or two meetings ago, because there was nobody running the water department. Basically, the manager was let go or quit or whatever the circumstances were. So that was a little bit concerning. So. I think all Mike did was bring in some education for us tonight. I don't think that was directed towards ousting the water department or overstepping our bounds. That's number one. Number two is, I think there is a danger, though, and to maybe Gary's point, I'll take this a little step further, is that we, putting our opinion out on Facebook, is just like us writing a letter, okay? So I think even if you say, I'm doing this as a citizen, I don't think that disqualifies you from putting your opinion about something that you may vote on in the future. And I think we have to be very careful of that. To say, hey, I support the plastic bag ban because, or I think this is a good idea, because you're going to be voting on it. I think it's bad practice, and it could give the conception that we are violating open meeting law.
At the end of the day, though, that's up to the Attorney General. That's not up to
Right.
this board.
Well, no,
to
I
decide.
think we as a board. Well, no. I think we as a
Like
board.
anything. It's like anything. If three of us decided that we wanted to meet and to talk about something,
Right.
how are we going to prevent that? If three of us said, "Hey, let's go down to Theo's and let's have a
Well,
conversation,"
you have a moral
about
obligation.
something.
You have a moral obligation as an oath of office not to do it. Number one. Number two is,
No,
I'm just talking specifically Facebook, Steve. I'm
Yeah,
not
but
talking
that's
about
not my
anything
point,
else
though.
going
My
on.
point is that we're saying that we want to put some type of restrictions around this, some type of policy.
I'm not saying policy. I'm just saying, I'm cautioning
Sure.
people about
Absolutely.
expressing your opinion on a particular subject that you're going to vote on in the future. That's just like writing a letter and posting it on the on the bulletin board outside that say, I support the plastic ban. Oh, I'm a citizen, not a selectman. But you know what? You are a selectman. So again, I would caution you on that. That's why
Sure.
I generally don't put my opinion out there. I just put facts. And once I did, and it turned into I'm going to put neon signs up and have sell brownies and stuff. I mean, it turned into something kind of crazy. But
Chair?
so anyway, I just giving you that advice.
the
That's all.
comment.
Because that could be misconstrued as a
Sure.
open meeting law.
Anyway.
But-
I would suggest that we all reread the latest KP update. I believe it's the middle paragraph on the first page, where it states that, and you and I have had this conversation, Steve, where it states that, and they use the word could, all right, that I might be on Facebook and I have you as a friend and David as a friend, all right, and Joe as a friend, okay, and that I might go put something out there on an opinion, this is blah, 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 and that they could find that, being that I have you three friended, and you have access to that, they could find that as deliberation and a violation of social media. So all I'm saying is, we have to be very careful of what we put out there. And we can't
why
be
are we-
can't do government by Facebook.
No, but why are we having this conversation right now?
Gary brought it up.
As selectmen, we have to be aware of open meeting law. We have to be aware of a lot of things, right? So it's up to us as individual selectmen to understand what is or what does or what does not constitute.
Exactly.
And it's our decision if we decide that, hey, it's okay if I speak to the public through whatever type of channel I want, then it's on that specific selectman. It's not on the board. But I agree with.
I don't agree with that.
I agree
On
with
the
you.
board.
It is on the board.
No, if you decide that you want to communicate with somebody, yeah, obviously, if you're in violation, I agree with you, 100%.
Yeah.
But I'm still, other than cautioning the board, I still don't know what you guys want us to do here. Are you saying that we shouldn't go on Facebook
No.
anymore and
No.
talk with anybody?
No.
I mean,
I'm just
I
saying
understand
that
the
you
risks,
couldn't-
right?
Right.
I understand the risks, and I have to be careful, right? As I communicate, I think we all do
Right.
in
That's all.
any type of medium,
That's all there is
whether
to it.
it's Facebook or
Right.
it's having a cup
But
of coffee.
I think, go back to your example. If three of us decided we're just gonna meet on our own, right? Another selectman should be really, really, really upset at that because you're putting the whole board's reputation at risk, not just your
Sure,
own.
absolutely.
And that's my point.
Got you.
I guess, so are we okay, Steve and I will, because I have put out that I am afraid that this could end up challenged, so Steve and I will try to come to some resolution, okay? I may
What are
not
we
have
trying? I'm sorry, I'm
registered a
confused,
formal
Gary.
complaint, and I'm trying not to. So that's why I'm trying to come to some resolution, so that I myself don't have to write the AG's office, okay?
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
What are you talking about?
I'm not sure
what are we
we're
talking
talking about, though. So what type of resolution about what?
You and I will discuss it.
And then bring
Just
the results to
what
the
you said
board.
earlier, that it should be discussed, so I brought it up here, now I'm
Yeah.
going to bring up that you and I try to come to some resolution.
specific issue that you wanna talk about?
That we will come back to the board, we may not get to that, or we
A
might,
specific issue that you want to talk about, is that what you're asking? Well,
about our policies and procedures and the open meeting law, yes. And about, let me say, and about where I went to was about, the tobacco regulations, that's the ones that I'm concerned about, okay? Those votes, we took 2 votes on that, and I have a fear that they could possibly be
what
challenged.
do you mean we took votes? It was.
They were
it's the Board of
non-binding,
Health.
they were
It's the
just-
Board of Health.
We still took 2 votes on that, it's minuted in our minutes.
Right, but they're
And
not,
that's as to what I'd like to come to some resolution, so that they can't be challenged.
Some resolution. Yeah, I don't know, it is what it is, I don't know what you wanna do about it.
And I still, like I say.
If you have a complaint, Gary, by all means, you gotta go through the process, so.
And that's
so
what I'm asking for, that process.
Go through the Attorney General, and then we'll find
The Attorney
out.
General says that I
We'll
should
find
try to
out.
come to resolution a year.
so can I
Okay.
make a suggestion? So Gary, why don't for the next meeting, you put your formal complaint together?
Sure.
In writing to the board, and we'll address it.
I can do that.
Mr. Chairman?
Yeah,
I
that'd
thought
be
it
great.
might have been easier if I didn't make it a formal complaint, that I just talked with, and tried to come to resolution, but if that's the way the board chooses, I can do that.
Well, I
Then
think
it's
we should all
specific.
talk about it, yeah.
It's better specific, and we can talk about it as a group.
Yep.
Suggest what you just said.
Now, I've also asked to hear from a member of the audience, Stu Eckenberg, who's patiently been waiting all night.
Which I'll decline. I've already declined that. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Doug had a comment, though.
Like a comment? Go ahead.
Mr. Agenberg has a right to speak at this. He did not have the opportunity to speak before when we met, and he's asked 2 or 3 times to speak to the board. And I think
understand that.
I think that we would be wise to allow him 3 to 5 minutes to speak to address the board.
Oh, the record,
And, okay.
Mr. Chair?
Can I chime my 2 cents on this? If it's here, if Stu, if you're here to reprimand us, then my vote is no. If you're here to talk about, I don't know what you're here to talk about, to be honest. We heard what we just said about procedure. Maybe we should have listened and asked for the general public, people that sell cigarettes, to come and talk to us, the merchants. I think we've I mentioned that, and that's where I stand. But if you're here to reprimand us on the procedure, then I think that's just a waste of everybody's time.
No.
And
That's my personal opinion.
so that's what my
Nobody's heard
understanding
me, so why don't you take 5 or 10 minutes to hear what I have to say?
That's up to the
But
chair.
before we say this, though, I think we
No, no,
need, this
no.
is, what's that?
No, no. I already declined it. We're not even considering it. I've already declined it. I was asked about putting it on the agenda. I control the agenda, and I've declined it. And Stu knows that. He's asked a couple of times.
Okay,
And
I object to that. Go by our
Shocking.
policies and procedures. Just let it be known that Mr. Fowler objects.
I object myself too.
okay,
And I want it to be known that, I want it to be known.
Whoa. As I told Gary, please. Okay, we don't need to disparage you. Okay, I've already said no, and that's it. So,
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, everybody.
I was gonna say no.